بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My brothers
بسم الله الرحمن
in
الرحيم.
Islam,
الحمد لله رب العالمين،
الله وبركاته.
والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء.
We inshallah resume what we started before the break. We had 4 sessions, I think it was 4 sessions or 6 sessions studying Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. I can't remember, 4 or 5, huh? No, 4 at least. 4 at least. So we've come a long way in studying Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf is one of those topics that your knowledge of it will develop with time. Right? Especially that Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf is one of the topics relating to aṣ-Sarf. You know, it's some books, they don't teach it in Nahu, they teach it in aṣ-Sarf. It has a lot of Sarf to do with it. And you guys have not studied Sarf yet. And the issues that are involved in Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf are not the marginal issues of Sarf. Is some of the core discussions around Sarf. So, alhamdulillah, we will cover it, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, and we've done quite well so far. But it's one of those topics that you just have to accept that for now, you will accept things in a shallow, superficial level. And then as you progress with your knowledge of Nahu, and when you begin studying Sarf more and more, you will be able to appreciate it in a deeper sense, and you'll be able to make more sense of it, inshallah. طيب, let me share my screen with you. طيب, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I'll begin with our documents. This document that I would like you guys to stay in touch with is in a form of a PDF under each video. And this PDF, as you can see, it keeps getting updated, it gets longer and longer. Basically, the later videos will have more updated versions of the same PDF. Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf, I'm going to go through briefly, quickly through what we covered so far. Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf, in its definition, we said Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf is al-ismu al-mu'rabu alladhi la yalhaquhu tanwīnun. Yes, that ism, which is mu'rab, meaning it does respond to awamil. It will never take tanween with it. That tanween is called tanweenu at-tamkeen or al-amkaniyah, to show that this ism is fully functional. It has the full sense of ismness, if you like, al-ismiyah. This is to distinguish that some isms are fully functional isms, they have all the attributes of ism, and some are not. And we covered that quite extensively in the previous classes. In this part here, we discussed that the difference between al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf and al-mamnūዕ min at-tanwīn. Remember the discussion? So some isms, they can be prohibited to have any tanween. They can be denied for tanween in a circumstantial way. Circumstantially, nothing to do with the ism itself, but due to the circumstances, the setting of the sentence, it cannot take any tanween. And we gave an example to this. Number 1, al-ism al-mu'arrafu bi-al. When an ism that can usually take tanween, if it's indefinite, when it's defined with al-ta'rif, as we can see here, when it's defined with al-ta'rif, it will be denied tanween. So it will be called mamnūʿun min at-tanween. It's not a term they used, but this is what it is basically. When you could say kitabun, if you add al to it, it will be al-kitabu. You can no longer add tanween to it. Then we have ism that is indefinite, but is also assigned to another ism, as in a idafa structure. So you have kitabun by itself. If you make it part of an idafa, if you assign it to another ism, you will call it kitabu muallimin, a book of a teacher. Yeah, kitabu muallimin. So the tanween is denied. And I told you this is one of the nice hints and tips that you will need to bear in mind when you are reading texts and you're trying to develop your ability to read Arabic books and make sense of them. You see an ism, you can identify it as being nakira, but you don't see tanween. This means it's automatically part of an idafa structure, right? Because an ism that is indefinite, that is nakira, should have tanween. If it doesn't have tanween, you have a big question mark. Why does it not have tanween? Is it part of an idafa structure? Is it mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf? That's when we ask questions. So coming across an ism that is nakira, indefinite, and it doesn't have tanween, that should cause you to pause and ask these questions. Now, number 3, al-ism al-mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf. That ism that is mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf by the very placement of the Arabs. When the Arabs made that ism, they made it denied tanween, not due to circumstances, not due to settings of a sentence. Right? Has nothing to do with ma'rifa and nakira. Has nothing to do with idafa or the lack of idafa. Right? So this is the one that is called mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf. And we gave examples here. We covered all of this. Is you still fresh in your mind, right? Here in this part here, I gave you the most popular, the word that would come most frequently as you read books and as you read the Quran. 3 categories, because what we end up covering in today's session to completely, inshallah, finish al-mamnūʿ as-sarf, we'll have a lot of discussions, a lot of other types of al-mamnūʿ min as-sarf, and it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I'm giving you a heads up, but don't. These are the most popular 3: al-a'lām al-a'jamiyyah, al-a'lām al-mu'annatha, wal-asmāء التي على وزن الفعل. طيب. al-a'lām al-a'jamiyyah, what does that mean? Non-Arab names. Non-Arab names that are adopted into Arabic by the Arabs. طيب. So then it becomes Arabic by adoption. طيب. وَالْأَعْلَامُ الْمُؤَنَّثَةِ. الْأَعْلَامُ الْمُؤَنَّثَةِ, proper nouns that are feminine. الْأَسْمَاءُ الَّتِي عَلَى وَزْنِ الْفِعْل. Who remembers what that is? That rhyme with the fi'l. Yeah. So basically, you could use the same ism and use it as fi'l, and it will just go fine. Yeah. And the typical example for that is Ahmad. Ahmadu. So Ahmadu could be an ism of a person called Ahmad, but we can use exactly the same word, and I can say Ahmadu Allah. I praise Allah. Right? So the same ism, the same fi'l. Yazid is another example. Yazid, which means a person called Yazid, but it can also be called fi'l mudari' to mean which means to add or to increase into something. Yazidu fil khalqi ma yasha. Allah says, Yazidu fil khalqi ma yasha. He increases in the creation as he wills. So these are the most common and the most frequently appearing words in Quran and Sunnah and in textbooks. It doesn't mean that you're not going to come across other ones, but these are the most frequent ones. And we covered that. Ja'a Muhammadun. Muhammad here being a fully functioning word that is not denied tanween. And this is something we are very familiar with. Now we're moving on from that. We go to Ja'a Ibrahimu. هذه الأعلام الأعجمية, an example for non-Arab names. Notice here we did not say Ja'a Ibrahimun. You say Ja'a Ibrahimu without tanween, just the dhamma. And when it comes to the third example here, we said Ja'at Aishatu. And again, not Ja'at Aishatun. And also, we said Ja'a Ahmadu, the same concept here. Do you remember I asked you this trick question as, when will it be possible to say Ja'at Aishatun?
Because if you're not referring to a specific Aisha,
any Aisha. So it's not a proper noun anymore. So a proper noun, alam, is a noun or a name that refers to an individual. When that name is said, it refers to a specific person. طيب. When it's not used in that sense, for example, there is many Aishat, many Awaish, many ladies called Aisha. So, and you want to ask, has any Aisha come? طيب. Or you want to say, one of the Aishat came, one of the ladies called Aisha came. So you can then say, جاءت عائشة, one of the Awaish came. طيب. In that sense, you can give tanween, and the tanween is given here because this word Aisha in this context is no longer a proper noun. It's no longer alam. Yeah. But otherwise, often these names are used as proper nouns. But don't be surprised that sometimes they may not be used as proper nouns. As so far as إعراب الممنوع من الصرف. You remember the إعراب of الممنوع من الصرف? Can you tell us, Salman? يرفع بالضمة. So يرفع بالضمة وينصب بالفتحة ويجر أيضا بالفتحة. طيب. So when it comes to رفع, it uses the primary حركة for رفع. When it comes to نصب, it uses the primary حركة for نصب, which is فتحة. When it comes to jar, it uses a secondary علامة for jar, which means when you do the jar, you have to explain why you have moved away from the primary علامة. Is that clear? But when you do the رفع with ضمة and you do the نصب with فتحة, you don't need to explain why is it مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة. You don't have to explain that. Having said that, you still have to explain the absence of tanween. طيب. So you say منع من الصرف, and it was denied صرف. صرف here means tanween. منع من الصرف for the following reason. Typically, like جاء إبراهيم, we will say, what's the reason? إبراهيم للعالمية وللعالمية العجمة. يعني more of this to come today إن شاء الله. للعالمية والعجمة for being together, for being علم, proper noun, as well as being أعجمي, non-Arab names. طيب. We covered all of that. These are أمثلة الإعراب. We done إعراب and we covered them, alhamdulillah. So you have them there, you read them, I assume, and you benefit from that, inshallah. Somebody highlighted a mistake for me. مبني على السكون, التالي مبني على السكون. مبني على الضم. This is somebody highlighted this to me. الضم. الفتحة هنا على السكون. somebody السكون. Yeah, so we covered all these Arab. طيب. And we came we have conditions in this section here. We said there are conditions. الاسم الممنوع من الصرف, for it to have that إعراب, يرفع بالضمة وينصب ويجر بالكسرة, ينصب ويجر بالفتحة. For it to have that إعراب, there are conditions. طيب. So you could have an ism that is أعجمي, an ism that is ممنوع من الصرف, but in these two circumstances, it will be denied this إعراب. What are the إعراب? أن يكون الاسم غير مضاف. So the condition, it has to be not part of an إضافة structure. If it's part of an إضافة structure, it goes to becoming a normal ism, not ممنوع من الصرف. Yeah? Because when an ism is part of an إضافة, مضاف مضاف إليه, it doesn't have tanween anyway. So when it doesn't have tanween, we cannot say it's ممنوع من الصرف. It's ممنوع من التنوين, so we don't call it ممنوع من الصرف. Does that make sense? So the first condition is that it cannot be part of مضاف إضافة مضاف إليه. أن يكون مجردا من التعريف. For it to not have التعريف. If it has التعريف, it will be denied tanween. So when it's already denied tanween, we cannot say it's ممنوع من الصرف. طيب. And therefore, in the تعريف, we don't have to do any more explanations. So here, for example, this example, جاء أحمدكم. Does it make sense for Ahmed to be attributed to kum? Ahmadukum here, what does it mean? You're Ahmed. right? So your Ahmed came. So if we are like 6 families together and each family has an Ahmed within them, and we want to say that your Ahmed came, the family, your son, that's called Ahmed came, not the other Ahmeds within the family. So your Ahmed. So now look at Ahmed here is part of an idafa structure. The Ahmed of you. You know, idafa, usually you add between the two names of in the translation in English. So the Ahmed of you has come or came. Right? That's the translation of this word. Ahmadukum, the Ahmed of you or of your Ahmed has come. So now Ahmed, he's being part of the idafa. We will not call this mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf. In the Arab, we don't consider it mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. Right? So Ahmadukum, here you go. We have جاء أحمدكم, رأيت أحمدكم, سلمت على أحمدي, أحمديكم. So when it comes to kasr, it's not علامة كسره الفتحة like the mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. It was al-kasra as usual. So when you see something like this will not surprise you anymore, sir. Because the confusing part here, you could come across a sentence that has a name that you know is A'jami, and you would be wondering why does it have kasra? I thought this is mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. Right? Al-masajid is also mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf, which we haven't covered yet. We will cover it in today's class. Al-masajidu kabiratun. Why is this mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf? So the word itself, masajid, this word here, if it wasn't with the ta'rif, it will be mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. Right? But now that we have al added to it, it's not treated as mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. We just say it is denied tanween because of the al being at the as a prefix to it. رأيت المساجد, the same thing here. المساجد, I saw it مفعول به. Are you clear about this? رأيت المساجد, المساجد here مفعول به. طيب, is it ممنوع من الصرف? No, the word مساجد was ممنوع من الصرف until al was added to it. Now we don't consider it as ممنوع من الصرف. We do إعراب as a normal word. طيب, مررت على المساجد. مررت على المساجد. So al-masajid, again, this is not mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. The evidence to this is that it has kasra at the end. Right? And why does it have the i'rab of mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf? Because of the ta'rif. Yeah. So in the first column, these examples about ahmadukum, we dealt with idafa, and here we dealt with al-ta'rif. Right? So if this sentence was marartu ala masajid, not al, what the haraka of this dal would be? Fatha. So it will be like this. Marartu ala masajida. Marartu ala masajida. And then you will say this is mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. Right? All of this we covered, and the i'rab examples are all below here. You can go through them, inshallah. And you should do the i'rab yourself and then check yourself against this i'rab and see whether you would miss something or not. Now, this is where we actually begin today's class. Al-ilalu al-mani'atu min aṣ-Sarf. So even this page here, we actually covered. There are ilal. Ilal, the word illah itself, what does it mean? Cause or reason. Right? Illah. But really, in this context, you can see it as an attribute, as a characteristic or a description. So a word can have an attribute about it, a property of it. And these properties, we can call them sifat, or we can call them illah. The sifa, that will become the reason why it's mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. So that's why here I put ilalun, and then here I put the word sifatun. Sifatun literally means properties and attributes. Ilal means causes and reasons. Right? There are causes, reasons, adjectives, attributes, properties of a word. إذا توافرت, when they become present in a word, في الاسم, in an ism, it منعته, it will deny it من الصرف, from صرف. Right? And then it says ويمكننا تقسيم هذه العلل إلى قسمين. We can, for understanding purposes, and I have to confess here that this is my way of explaining this. You don't see this worded like this in other books. We can see them as strong reasons and weak reasons. طيب علل قوية and علل ضعيفة. We can categorize these reasons, these causes of منع من الصرف, the inhibitors of صرف. We can look at them as being adjectives or properties that are strong enough to deny صرف by themselves without being joined with another property. Right? And other ones that are weaker, they need another reason, another property, another adjective. Collectively, two of them, they will become powerful enough to deny an ism صرف. And I remind you here of what we used to say before: ومنع من الصرف للعلمية والعجمة. For two properties together, being alam at the same time as being a non-Arabic name. If it was only alam, will that be sufficient to deny صرف? No. We need it being alam in addition to it being non-Arabic words. Yeah. So at this point, we will categorize these adjectives or these causes into two causes that are strong enough, powerful enough to deny صرف by themselves without the need of any additional attribute or property of the word. And some of them are weak. علل ضعيفة. This is ضعيفة. علل ضعيفة, weak, such that they need a top-up cause for it to deny صرف. So I say here فالعلل القوية تكفي وحدها للمنع من الصرف. Strong causes of the strong causes, basically, they تكفي. What does تكفي mean? Suffices. وحدها, by themselves. للمنع من الصرف, for the denial of صرف. والضعيفة, and the weaker causes, the weaker reasons, تحتاج إلى علة أخرى معها. It will need another cause, another property to be also present for the word to be denied. So now we'll take them one at a time. القسم الأول العلل القوية. With نحو, usually it's easier to categorize things and then tackle each category by itself. It will be easier to tackle them and understand them like this. If things are jumbled, you cannot say one thing that applies to all. So what you do, you categorize them, and then you say the rule about the first category, and then you say the rule about the second category. So, and we are familiar with this by now. تقسيمات وتعريفات وأحكام. So القسم الأول, the first قسم, العلل القوية. وفي هذا القسم علتان لفظيتان. So in this category we have strong reasons that are pertaining, that are relating to this, the way the word sounds. Right? That is to do with the way the word sounds. لفظيتان علتان. في هذا القسم علتان, two علز, two causes. لفظيتان, that's an adjective, meaning to do with the way the word sounds. Causes to do, as opposed to do what? As opposed to معنويتان. It's not to do with the meaning, rather it's to do with the way it sounds. العلة الأولى, the first علة that comes under this category is أن ينتهي الاسم بألف التأنيث. For the ism to end in the way it's pronounced with ألف التأنيث. And we will delve into that today, inshallah, and we'll speak about it more, inshallah. Ahmed, we are just catching up now. We are just about to finish the revision daily. So العلة الأولى أن ينتهي الاسم بألف التأنيث. For the ism to end with ألف التأنيث. العلة الثانية أن يكون الاسم على صيغة منتهى الجموع. It will be in one of the patterns of منتهى الجموع, which is something I will explain, a form of plural, basically. One form. منتهى الجموع basically is when you have the Arabs would make, as you have covered already, you have mufrad, which is singular, and you have muthanna, which is dual, and then you have plural, jam', which is plural, and then they made words to do the plural of the plural. Right? So you have, for example, rajul is a single man, rajulan, رجلان means two men. رجال, men, plural. Huh? What if you say رجالات? That's جمع of the جمع. So this is the, and then they have also further جمع. For some words, they will have جمع of the جمع of the جمع. So the furthest form of جمع, منتهى الجمع, the one that the Arabs use at the end of it, they call it منتهى الجموع. But for your purpose, obviously this discussion here is an in-depth discussion in Sarf. But for your purpose, just see it as a form of جمع تكسير, something that is not جمع مذكر سالم, not جمع مؤنث سالم. We'll cover that inshallah more. So this is the general category. So the first category is to do with the way the word sounds, with the sound of the word. That will make it denied tanween. The first one, for it to end with alif al-ta'nith, the alif of femininity. The second illa is for it to be in the pattern of muntaha al-jumu'. And muntaha al-jumu' is just a form of plural. It's a form of jam'u taksir, meaning a broken plural. It's not jam'un sahih. Now, the second category, al-illal al-da'ifa, causes, reasons for denial or inhibitors of sarf that are weak. Weak in the sense that they cannot by themselves deny an ism tanween or sarf. And they are ma'nawiyatan. They are two causes pertaining to meaning, to the meaning of the word. Pertaining to the meaning of the word, not to the sound of the word, as in the previous category. However, these two, they have to be supported by an additional second attribute that will help it being denied tanween. We said al-illatul ula, the first, again, under this category, we have also two illas, two causes. The first one is al-alamiyah. Maybe I should just make this one in different color. Al-alamiyah too. What is al-alamiyah? The state of being a proper noun, or the quality or the attribute of being a proper noun. أن يكون الاسم علما, for the ism to be proper noun. مع علة أخرى, in addition to another علة, but this other علة will become لفظية. So علة معنوية in addition to another علة that is pertaining to the way the word is sounded. Making sense? So when we said إبراهيم ممنوع من الصرف, the fact that it is proper noun, that state عالمية, is the one that is pertaining to meaning, right? Can you see that Ibrahim, the word Ibrahim refers to a person, صح? So that's meaning. So what's the meaning of Ibrahim? The person called Ibrahim. Huh? So that's meaning. That is a reason or a illa that is pertaining to meaning. And then you have another illa that is pertaining to the way the word is sounded. And that is it being non-Arab. لفظية, meaning Arabs did not construct this word. This word was constructed by non-Arabs. And that's to do with what? To the utterance of the word. This is not the way Arabs would make nouns and names. So do you get this idea of it having two properties, al-alamiyya, in addition to some a reason that is pertaining to the utterance of the word, lafdiyya. And then here we said the second one, a second illa, is al-wasfiyya. For it to be wasf, the word, the state of a word being wasf. Right? And you remember we discussed this in the previous class. Wasf meaning it's an ism that is derived from some form of fi'l. Right? This is as opposed to al-asma'ul jamida. Right? We said kursi. Kursi means chair. Is it derived from any fi'l? There's no, for example, there's no fi'l called karasa, and then kursi being derived from it. And hence, we say the word kursi is ismun jamid. Right? Al-wasfiyya, al-wasf is an ism that is derived from another fi'l. So being wasf, in addition to another illa that is pertaining to the lafz. Is that clear? And here I mentioned to you, والوصف. Again, this discussion of al-wasf is in the field of what? In the sarf. Right? اسم مشتق, an ism that is derived from a masdar, from a basic ism, basic word that indicates to what? This is يدل على ذات بصفة ثابتة. It indicates to an entity with a fixed attribute. Who can tell us what did we mean by this? A fixed attribute.
Constantly stable.
Huh? Yes. Constantly, always described as this. For example, if we said أكل محمد or محمد يأكل. Muhammad eats. صح؟ محمد يأكل. Muhammad eats. محمد أكل. طيب. Can we say that Ahmed or Muhammad, in this example, Muhammad was doing this act? صح? But is he described with this act as something that he does all the time? Right? So this is not wasf. محمد أكل. So أكل فعل ماضي, يأكل فعل مضارع. These are not wasf. What is wasf? If you call him آكل. So he is somebody who is like professional at eating. He eats all the time. It can be a form of exaggeration, but that's the whole point. You want to describe somebody as he's almost eating all the time. So you call him محمد rather than يأكل. محمد آكل. Right? In addition to other meanings. So this is what we covered here. And here, this is something we covered also, even though they are to do with sarf, but you cannot study nahu unless you know this. You should know that these are possible, the most basic derivations from words in the Arabic language. You have the ماضي, فعل ماضي, and then you have المضارع, فعل مضارع, and then you have المصدر, the basic word, اسم الفاعل, and that's وصف. اسم الفاعل, واسم المفعول, that's also وصف. Okay? We took this example. كتب is فعل ماضي. You can see they are color coded. Huh? So كتب is الفعل الماضي. كتب is فعل ماضي. يكتب فعل مضارع. كتابا is the masdar, the basic root word from which all the other derivations are derived. طيب كتابا. And now say calling him كاتب. So you're calling somebody as a katib. He didn't just read. He did not just write in one instant. He doesn't read. He doesn't write occasionally, but he is actually a writer. He writes all the time, or he's professional at writing. So for such person, you don't say محمد كتب or محمد يكتب. لا. You will say محمد كاتب. And this will be called اسم مفعول. اسم مفعول. مكتوب اسم مفعول. طيب. Also it's وصف. مكتوب means that which is written. مكتوب. ضرب يضرب ضربا. ضرب in the past. يضرب مضارع. ضربا is the basic word, the basic ism. مصدر, it's called مصدر. ضارب means a person that is a hitter. طيب. مضروب, the person that is hit. So ضرب يضرب ضربا فهو ضارب ومضروب. أكل means ate. يأكل means eats or eaten. أكلا. طيب أكلا. They usually make this masdar with tanween. You have tanween with fatha, but it doesn't have to be بالتنوين. أكل. So أكل is masdar. طيب. فهو آكل يعني فاعل للأكل, اسم فاعل. مأكول اسم مفعول. طيب. حجب to conceal or to cover. حجب. يحجب حجبا فهو حاجب ومحجوب. طيب. So as you go on, you will want to know at least these tasarif of any word that you learn. And there are websites that can help you with this. You can put one word and it will give you the basic masdar of it, and then it will tell you not only these 5 derivations, these 5 ishtiqaqat, it will give you further ones. But these are the most basic that you need. Here, as you can see here, I put 3 dots to show you that there are other derivations. Yeah, there are other derivations. But for you to study Nahu, these are the 5 that you have to bear in mind. So when it comes to al-wasf, there is ismul fa'il, and there is ismul maf'ul, in addition to other ones, other isms that are derived from this masdar. Right? There are other isms that are derived from this basic masdar, but the most popular of them is ismul fa'il or ismul maf'ul. And they will be called what? Wasfun, because of the fact that they are derived from masdar. Right? Masdar is basically the name of the action. The name of the action divorced from time. So now, when you look at kataba here is an action, which is the act of writing, in addition to time, which means the act of writing happened in the past. Here, yaktubu, the act of writing happening as we speak, is occurring right now, right? But masdar kitaban, what is that? Kitab, basically the act of writing without specifying a time. Ismul fi'l, the name of the fi'l itself, right? The name of the act, the action itself, right? So what is darb? Is the action of hitting, صح? What is akl? Is the action of eating. What is hajb? Is the act of concealing, right? So from that, if we want to make the madi, we make the madi, or we can make mudari', and then we make ism al-fa'il, we make ism al-maf'ul, and so on. Obviously, when you study sarf, there will be rules as to how do you take from a masdar madi, how do you create the madi, and then how do you create mudari', and then how do you create ism al-fa'il, and how do you create ism al-maf'ul. So you learn this in depth, inshallah, when you learn sarf. However, listen to this. If you become vigilant and you pay attention to words as you pick them up, you'll begin to pick up the sense of it. You get the hang of it, and you will be able to realize or understand the derivations without actually understanding the rules of how to make these derivations. How to make fi'l al-amr, for example. You study that in Sarf, how to make fi'l al-amr. But if you pay attention and you look at these words and you try to think about them, every time you come across one fi'l, you ask yourself, can I make the 5 at least? 5. كتب يكتب كتابا فهو كاتب ومكتوب جيد. نزل ينزل نزولا فهو نازل ومنزول جيد. So you come across words and you try to link them to these basic things. Obviously, you're going to come across other new words that will be a little bit more challenging. But then the more you think about them, the more you run them in your mouth, the more you're ready, your mind will pick up on this. You will have the common sense to derive your own words. When you learned English, did you have to learn the grammar of every derivation in that? No, you pick up, you learn. Sometimes you could occasionally get things wrong, but you get corrected. But you didn't have to learn the rules of everything. I would say the same thing applies here. At some point, you will learn the rules of creating madi from masdar, creating mudari' from the masdar, creating the amr, fi'l amr, creating ism al-fa'il, creating ism al-maf'ul. All that you will learn the rules of it. But I really think that you can do without. طيب. So here, now we're going to study al-mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf in depth. And I hope, inshallah, we will wrap it up today, inshallah. Al-mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf li'illa wāḥida. This is the first category. Remember, we said that there are 2 categories. That ism that is mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf due to one reason, one cause. And this one cause has to do what? With lafz, the way it sounded. Are you with me so far? Anybody lost, confused? Now we're studying al-ism al-mu'rab al-muntahi bi-alif al-ta'nīth. That ism that is mu'rab that ends al-muntahi bi-alif al-ta'nīth. with the alif of femininity. Right? I'm sure you can, now you got the hang of it, you can guess what alif al-ta'nith is. Anyone can have a guess what alif al-ta'nith is? Huh? Yeah, so what does that mean?
So, well, you were doing the camera when this your time, yeah,
Yes, yeah, similar. So basically, it's something you add at the end of a word to create the feminine version of a word, to indicate that this word is feminine, basically. Like, remember, similar to ta'u ta'nith. Remember ta'u ta'nith? Like ja'a wa ja'at. This ta is called ta'u ta'nith. What does it do? It has this connotation that this fi'l, the doer of this fi'l, is a female doer. Yeah. So alif al-ta'nith is an alif that is added to the end of the word, and that means it is not part of the basic structure of a word. Okay? So when we covered ja'at, for example, the basic letters for ja'a is jim, alif, and hamza, صح? But then the ta is an added letter. صح? So here we said alif al-ta'nith hiya alifun za'idatun, an added alif. Alifun za'idatun, an added alif, meaning it is not part of the basic letters of that word. Okay? للتأنيث, for the purpose of adding the meaning of femininity. Does that make sense? قال ليست أصلية ولا منقلبة عن أصل. Sometimes you have alif at the end of a word, but it is not for femininity. Okay? It is part of the basic structure of a word. ولا منقلبة عن أصل. منقلبة ولا. So he's ليست أصلية, يعني this alif is not one of the basic letters of a word. That's asli, meaning primary or basic letter within a word. It's not like that. And it is not also منقلبة عن أصل. It is not a letter that is changed into alif. So basically, prior on the basic word, you had different to the alif. But then due to certain rules, you have that letter changing into alif to do with sarf. Again, some of the rules of sarf, they say, for example, if you have a certain ending of a word, you have to change that letter into alif. It's called al-qalb or al-i'lal, a topic on its own, a code of sarf, whereby you change the end of a letter, the end of a word, the last letter of a word, you change it into alif. And in that case, this alif is not for femininity. It's an alif that is changed to do with the rules of sarf. Right? Inshallah, we will begin studying sarf at some point soon, inshallah. But anyway, alif za'ida lit-ta'nith, an alif that comes only for the purpose of femininity. Evidence to this, he says here, this alif, if you want to know if it's za'ida or not, you will create derivations of it, of the word. You will think of other possible derivations, and that will tell you if that letter you're thinking about is as part of the basic letters of the word, or is it an added letter. Right? When you try to derive, just now we derived kataba, yaktubu, kitaban, katibun, maktubun. So what we do, we will know that the basic letters, they will still be present in all of them. Right? Ones that are not basic will appear in some of the derivations and not in others. So katib, there's alif there, right? So that alif, هل هي الأصلية أو زائدة? Is it alif that is أصلية or زائدة? زائدة, how do you know it's زائدة? For example, when you look at kataba, it doesn't have that alif. So we know that it is added. So that's how you can tell what is zaid and what is asli. Does that make sense? طيب. So if you want to know that, if you want to confirm, you want to look at one word, and you can see at the end of it there's alif, and you want to confirm, is this alif al-ta'nith or not? You will think about other derivations of that word, and you ask yourself, did that alif remain, or was it omitted in some of the derivations? Yeah, does that make sense? That's how you know that this is za'ida, not asliya. For example, now here's, you're taking example for مثل الألف, like the alif في آخر كلمة حمراء. Look at this alif at the end of حمراء. This alif that is followed with hamza. This alif, this is for the ta'nith, to state that something feminine is red in color. حمراء, something feminine is red in color. Right? How do we know that this alif is za'ida, is an added letter, not one of the basic letters of a word? How do we know? We look at other derivations. For example, here we will see that this alif is not present, for example, in the word ahmar. So, ahmar. Ahmar means red, but for a male, something that is masculine, you will describe it as being ahmar. Yeah? Ihmarra, for something to become or to turn red. Hamura, something in the past turned red. Yahmarru. So all these are af'al, the derivations that come from the same basic letters, which are the ha, mim, and ra. But we keep on adding letters here and there to create different meanings. Huh? So knowing that the alif, this alif here, was not present in all these derivations, that tells us this is alifun za'ida. The same thing with Sahra. Sahra. Sahra, what does Sahra mean? Desert. Desert. طيب. غيابها, so look at the word Sahra, look at the absence of the alif and the hamza from phrases like أصحر الرجل. أصحر الرجل, meaning the man walked into the desert, and he kind of disappeared into the desert. What's the word we use here? Ashara. Ashara. Can you see that the basic letters of this word is actually what? What are the letters? Sad, ha, and ra. Right? Even the hamza here in ashara, this hamza is zaida. Right? This is zaida. So that tells us that here in Sahra, this is zaida for ta'nith. طيب وأصحر الأمر. طيب أصحر الأمر, also when something becomes, Sahara is something that is wide and open. If you say something has become clear and there is no doubt about it, Arabs would use a phrase like أصحر الأمر. The matter has become clear and free from confusion. طيب. So this is the rule. How do you know a certain letter, a certain alif at the end is alif al-ta'nith, al-za'ida or la? You think of other derivations. Obviously, you'd be asking me, but how do I make derivations myself when I'm still new at this? This is the part I told you at the beginning. Just know the rules, and you become comfortable that as you develop your skills in the Arabic language, then you will become equipped with the ability to derive other words. But for now, just get this as a basic rule. Yeah. These words, I don't want you to memorize them, but I just want you to know that these words are examples for words that has alif at-ta'nith or alif hamza at the end, but they are not alif at-ta'nith. They are not alif at-ta'nith. These, in some of them, in the first two, for example, this one here is part of the basic letters of the word. So if you think of any derivation of the word insha, and insha is masdar, you will find ansha'a, yunshi'u, insha'an, munshi'un, munsha'un. The hamza is always there. So that hamza is part of the basic letters of this word. So therefore, even though it looks like alif al-ta'nith, but when we think about it, it's not alif al-ta'nith. So you find in the Quran, a word like this one, إِنَّا أَنْشَأْنَاهُنَّ إِنْشَاءً. إنشاءً, and you will see tanween there. And you'll be thinking, but this, hold on, it has alif hamza at the end. It has alif hamza, but that alif hamza is not alif al-ta'nith. This is part of the basic letter. So for now, when you come across something that appears to be alif al-ta'nith, but it is not mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf, that would be your clue that what you're looking at here is not alif al-ta'nith. Right? Until you develop further sarf knowledge, you can take this rule. If you come across a word that seems to end with alif hamza, as you read the Quran or read any other book, but it seems to have tanween at the end of it, and to your mind, if this is mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf, if this alif al-ta'nith, then it will become mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf. So that, what does that tell you? That tells you that this word must be so this alif at the end of this word is not alif al-ta'nith. It must be a basic letter of that word, or it must be, or could also be maqlūbatun min, it is changed from another letter. Right? Like I said to you before, sometimes you have in sarf rules that will tell you in certain dynamics, change the waw into alif, change the ya into alif. Right? So there are rules like this. Right? So for example, the word ba'a, yabi'u. But what does ba'a mean?
So
He sold, right? Ba'a. Yabi'u, he sells. But what do you see there? What is missing? The alif. So it's not, the alif is not present in yabi'u. That tells you that that alif is changed. It was something else before. It was actually baya'a, yabi'u, baya'a, yabi'u. But which one sounds easier to pronounce? Baya'a wala ba'a? Ba'a. So sarf, what they do, if they find a certain word, a certain collection of words is difficult to pronounce, they will make a rule and they will say the Arabs did actually change it into something else. So that which was initially alif, due to sarf ruling, they change it into alif. Sorry, it was before ya, they change it into alif. This is called qalb, al-qalb. So they changed one letter into another letter altogether for the purpose of making it more easy to pronounce. So when it was baya'a, yabi'u, they made it into ba'a, yabi'u. What's this called? Qalb, changing one letter into another letter altogether. So you could have at the end of one word alif hamza at the end, but that is actually not alif originally. It was either a waw or a ya. Okay? More of this when you study sarf, inshallah. So these words, when you read them in the Quran, don't be confused when you see them. So this would be insha'an, sama'an, bina'an, raja'an. All of these words, they have tanween, even though they appear to end with alif hamza, which appears to be like alif at-ta'nith, but it's not alif at-ta'nith. Is this making sense? So alif at-ta'nith, so we have three possibilities. We either dealing with alif at-ta'nith, which is extra, or we are dealing with alifun asliyah, where alif and hamza, that is part of the basic construction of the word, or we can have an alif that is munqaliba, something that is changed into alif, but originally it was not alif, and hence it is not alif al-ta'nith. What we want is alif al-ta'nith. Only alif al-ta'nith is what we're looking for. So al-ismu al-mu'rabu al-muntahi bi alif al-ta'nith. Al-ismu, that ism that is mu'rab, which ends with alif al-ta'nith. This is illatun tamna'u min as-sarf. This is a cause that prevents from sarf by itself. By itself. It doesn't need to have any other meaning or any other causes. Is that clear so far? Right. Now, this category has two subcategories. Nothing much, but it's something very simple. So you have alif al-ta'nith. Alif al-ta'nith can be of two types. Either alif al-ta'nith that is followed with hamza, like the example we just covered now, or alif al-ta'nith that isn't followed with hamza. Simple as. Yeah? So both of them are for the purpose of adding the connotation of femininity. Right? Both of them are for this purpose. So it's called, they are still called, both of them, alif al-ta'nith. If it's with hamza, it's called alif al-ta'nith al-mamdūda. What's it called if it has hamza? alif al-ta'nith al-mamdūda. طيب, example of that is شقراء, طيب, نجلاء, طيب, حسناء, سوداء, صفراء, بيضاء, خضراء, شعراء. شعراء, a group of men that are poets. علماء, a group of men that are scholars. Even though we speak about scholars as being men, but the group is feminine. Yeah? So the group is feminine, therefore there's alif hamza at the end of it. Right? Now, for example, if we take ulama here, can you see that if we go back to the singular of this, the singular of this is what? Ulama. What's the singular of ulama? Alim. Is there alif hamza there? There you go. We just derived another word from it, and we saw the absence of alif hamza, and that tells us this alif hamza was زائدة للتانيث. Does that make sense? So these are alif al-tanith al-mamduda. So all these words, if you put them in a sentence, you don't give them tanween. Let's take this اسم here, سوداء. طيب, هي, or let's say جهنم. جهنم, أعرف كلمة, يلا say بس moment. جهنم سوداء. سوداء مظلمة. جهنم, the fire of hell. سوداء means black. سوداء, and then مظلمة. We're gonna write this down here. جهنم سوداء مظلمة. سودة جهنم سوداء مظلمة. طيب, هذا مثال. جهنم is مبتدأ. طيب, مبتدأ مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. yeah? سوداء is a خبر, صح? We're describing جهنم as being, so we say جهنم is black. Black and مظلمة. سوداء مظلمة. So we can say this one is either second خبر or نعت to سوداء. But you can see here, when it comes to مظلمة, we give it tanween. Right? But when it comes to سوداء, we just say سوداء. Right? We didn't say سوداء. جهنم سوداء. Yeah? No tanween for سوداء. Why? Because it is an ism that ends with alif al-ta'nith. So in the Arab of سوداء, we will say what? خبر مرفوع وعلامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره ومنع من الصرف لانتهائه بألف التأنيث الممدودة, we can say. Yeah? So that's the reason why it did not have tanween. Okay. Is that making sense? طيب. So that's ألف التأنيث الممدودة. And the other category of ألف التأنيث is ألف التأنيث المقصورة. So you have ألف التأنيث الممدودة, put it in blue, and you have المقصورة. مقصورة, basically, it doesn't have hamza at the end, in short. Yeah, it's the same alif for the purpose of adding femininity, but it doesn't have it's not followed with hamza. So if it's followed with hamza, it's alifun mamduda. If it's not followed with hamza, it's alifun maqsura. And these are bushra, glad tiding. Okay? Glad tiding is something feminine. Okay? Salma is a name of a lady called Salma. Kubra, the greatermost. Sughra, the smallest. Udhma, similar to Kubra, the greatest most. Quswa, the furthest. جرحى here. جرحى means a group of men that are injured. So again, we have the alif there, alif التأنيث, for the group. مرضى is a plural of مريض. مرضى. Why do we have alif التأنيث here? Why do we have alif التأنيث here? Again, because of the same reason. Because it's a group of sick individuals. So the group is feminine. So we gave it alif التأنيث المقصورة. And all of these things, they will not have tanween, and they will be mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf. Are you familiar with this? طيب. Now, when it comes to the strong causes for al-mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf, that was the first one, which is what? Alif التأنيث. To end with alif التأنيث. Now the second one is الاسم المعرب في صيغة منتهى الجموع. اسم, that's معرب, but it's in the pattern of منتهى الجموع. Now you're familiar with what منتهى الجموع means. منتهى الجموع means the furthest plural that was created by the Arabs in regards to a particular word, right? And I gave you example of رجل, رجلان, رجال, ثم رجالات. Right? So what do we say here? هي, what is صيغة منتهى الجموع? هي صيغة جمع تكسير. It's a broken plural. طيب, you're familiar with الجمع الصحيح, جمع المذكر السالم وجمع المؤنث السالم. They end with certain prefixes, and they maintain the same pattern as the singular. But جمع التكسير is broken. So this is a broken one. وتدل على الكثرة. They indicate plentiness. When you want to use a word that indicates plentiness, rather than using the word رجال, use رجالات, for example. Okay? طيب. وتستعمل للمبالغة أيضا. Sometimes you would use the word صيغة منتهى الجموع, not necessarily relating to number, but you just want to exaggerate. Right? This is what I said to you before. This is the furthest point of elaboration, the furthest point of plurality that was made by the Arabs. قالوا, the ulama of نحو, قالوا سميت هذه الصيغة, it was named with this name, بذلك, لأنها آخر, this is the furthest form of جمع that was created for a particular word. لأن آخر أو نهاية صيغة جمع في لسان العرب جمع الجمع, the plural of the plural. Now this is how it sounds. This is the relevant part. This here, I should make this one in red. This is the part that is most relevant. هو جمع تكسير, a broken plural that has in the midst of it alif. This alif would be called alif التكسير. So you have a broken alif, a broken plural, جمع تكسير, that has in the middle of it an alif that is not part of the mufrad. And they call this one alif التكسير. Are you with me so far? طيب. Such that, بحيث, the word بحيث means such that, يكون بعدها حرفان, that alif will be followed by 2 letters, or it will be followed by 3 letters, and the middle of those 3 letters is a vowel, حرف ساكن, a letter that has sukun. Yeah? So they said it consists either from 5 letters. So that جمع تكسير will be consistent of 5 letters, and the middle one is جمع تكسير, and it's followed by 2 consonants, no vowels in them. Right? Or it will be consistent of 6 letters. Number 3 is the alif التكسير, but it's followed by 3 letters. The middle one among them is a sakin, حرف ساكن, as we'll see here. So example for the first one, مثال الأول صيغة مفاعل. مفاعل. That's the pattern. صيغة. طيب نحو مساجد. Can you see that مساجد rhymes with مفاعل? ها؟ مساجد مفاعل. مدارس. مدارس. معابد. Can you see that معابد rhymes with مفاعل? And عوامل. مفاعل. So مفاعل is the وزن or the صيغة of these four words. طيب. And you can see here all these words consist of how many letters? 5. And you can see the third of them is alif and is followed by two more letters. Right? So that's the first صيغة. صيغة مفاعل. I'll make that one in blue as well. صيغة مفاعل. And then the مثال الثاني where it consists of 6 letters. مفاعيل. صيغة مفاعيل. So مفاعيل نحو. Sorry, before let me give you the meaning of these words. Masajid means mosques. Masajid, plural of masjid. Madaris, schools, the plural of madrasa. Ma'abid, places of worship. You know, so it's called ma'abid, and the singular of it is ma'bad. Awamil, you must be familiar with this word. Huh? Huh? No. Awamil, al-amil wal-ma'mul in nahwu. Influences and factors. So the singular of it is amil. The singular of this amil. But the plural is awamil, and it also rhymes with mafa'il. طيب. Mafa'il, that's the pattern, that's the wazn. Mafatih, masabih, maqalid, masakin, mafahim, maqadir, talamid. Are you able to see that all of them rhyme with mafa'il? طيب. So this صيغة is one of the examples for صيغة منتهى الجموع that ends with, that consists of 6 letters. And it denies صرف because ألف التكسير is followed by 3 letters, the middle one being حرف ساكن. Yes? Yeah. So مفاتيح means plural of مفتاح, keys. مصابيح plural of مصباح, which means lamp. مقاليد, مقلاد, which also means key. مقلاد. مساكين plural of مسكين. Which one? Poor people. Poor people. مفاهيم is a plural of مفهوم, which means a principle or a concept. مقادير جمع مقدار, which means a measurement, a form of measurement. مقدار. وتلاميذ, what does it mean? Students in the plural. The plural of, what's the singular of it? تلميذ. طيب. So these are the meanings of these words, and as you can see, all of them consist of 6 letters, and all of them, they have alif al-taksir in the middle of them, letter number 3, and in front of alif al-taksir there are 3 letters. The middle one of them is harf sakin. Okay. Now I want you to look at this. رجال, is this ممنوع من الصرف? رجال, what does it mean? Men. رجال, so it's a plural. Is it ممنوع من الصرف? Why? Yes, it's not ممنوع من الصرف. Why? It doesn't meet the criteria that we just discussed. We have alif al-taksir, yes, it has alif al-taksir, but alif al-taksir is followed by only 1 letter. So now if I say جاء رجال, I will give it tanween. ورأيت رجالا, وسلمت على رجال. طيب. أقلام, is this ممنوع من الصرف? No, it's not. Why? Because again, the same reason. We have alif al-taksir, because the singular of this is what? Qalam. So we have alif al-taksir here, right? But it's followed with one letter only, right? Aswat. So aqlam means plural of qalam. Aswat is a plural of sawt. Sawt. Again, it's broken, صح? You can see it's broken. But is it mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf? No. So for it to be mamnūʿ min aṣ-Sarf, we said, what's the rule? Either it will be having alif followed by 2 letters, or alif followed by 3 letters, the middle of which is sakin. This is easier than having to learn all the other sigha. So we have mafa'il and mafa'il here are just examples. There are other ones which I will cover now. But rather than learning all of them, this rule is easier, saying that it has to consist of, it has to contain, the word has to contain alif al-taksir, broken alif, broken plural that has alif al-taksir, and it has to be followed either by 2 letters, 2 more letters, or 3 letters, the middle of which is sakin. All of these ones here, they don't meet these criteria. So rijalun means men, aqlamun means pens, aswatu means sounds, talamidhatun means also students. طيب talamidha وتلاميذ تلامذة وتلاميذ. تلاميذ is ممنوع من الصرف. طيب, so if you say تلاميذ, we say جاء تلاميذ ورأيت تلاميذ وسلمت على تلاميذ, ممنوع من الصرف. طيب, لكن تلامذة, you say جاء تلامذة تن, you see this? جاء تلامذة, it's not ممنوع من الصرف. ورأيت تلامذة وسلمت على تلامذة. فلاسفة, look at فلاسفة, ممنوع من الصرف? No, it's not, because we have alif taksir, طيب, but it's not followed by 3, it's followed by 3 letters, the middle of which is not sakin. طيب. عباقرة, so فلاسفة means philosophers, عباقرة means geniuses. طيب. All of these words, they don't meet the criteria, so therefore they are not ممنوع من الصرف, and therefore they are just basic ism that is given the normal i'rab. يرفع بالضمة ويفتح بالكسرة, وينصب بالفتحة ويجر بالكسرة. Is that clear? Yes, madam. تلاميذ here? What about it? It's not supposed to, yes. تلاميذ. All of them are not supposed to have any haraka at the end, because they are words that are not part of a sentence. Hence, you can't give them any Arab. But definitely, talamid will never have kasra in any way, in any case. طيب, well spotted. Any other questions? Yeah? طيب. So now that we have covered the rule, now I want you to know that these two patterns, mafa'il and mafa'il, are not all the patterns. طيب. These are just examples. We saw the mithal, these are just examples. طيب. There are other patterns, but all of them, they will have to meet these 2 conditions. طيب. Alif al-taksir followed by two more letters, or alif al-taksir followed by 3 letters, the middle of which is harfun sakin. طيب. For example, here, أوزان صيغ منتهى الجموع. If you were to exclusively or exhaustively list all of them, طيب. أوزان صيغ منتهى الجموع. هناك العديد, there are many, العديد من الأوزان, rhymes or patterns, التي تندرج تحت صيغ منتهى الجموع, that which falls under the category of صيغ منتهى الجموع. الممنوع من الصرف, that is denied صرف. ومن أشهرها, the most popular of them, طيب, مفاعل. طيب. مفاعل. Can you see that it meets the criteria? مفاعيل, we covered them already. طيب. These 2. لكن فواعل. Again, alif al-taksir, alif is there and followed by 2 more letters, which is fine. So شوارع, عواصف. طيب. عواصف, what does sorry, let me give you the meaning of the words. Masajid here, you know it already. Mosques. Masani', plural of masna', which means factory. Masabih, we covered it. What does it mean? Lamps. Like the light. Mafatih, plural of keys. Yeah, plural of miftah. Shawari', streets. جمع شارع. طيب. عواصف, storms, plural of عاصفة. عاصفة or عاصف. عاصف or عاصفة. عاصفة, the plural of it is عواصف. طيب. So جاءت عواصف. جاء أو هبت عواصف. طيب. جاءت عواصف. Do we say عواصف؟ لا, عواصف. طيب. ورأيت عواصف وسلمت على عواصف. طيب. أو مررت على عواصف. على عواصف. So even though it's على but عواصف. طيب. فواعيل. فواعيل. فواعيل is another pattern that you should be aware of, even though you don't have to memorize it. Just remember the rule I gave you at the beginning. So can you see فواعيل meets the criteria? How? We have alif, the taksir. Yes. And is it followed by two or three letters, the middle of which is sakin? Yes. So طواحين. طواحين. طواحين is the plural of طاحونة, which means grinders. That grind like wheat and grains and stuff like this. صواريخ, جمع صاروخ, which is a rocket. صواريخ. So when these come in sentences, so for now, for you, you will just, you're not going to make sentences. You will see and read sentence, and you want to understand what's happening. So you're not at the stage of making your own sentences yet. Right? Remember, we spoke about these stages. At the beginning, you'll be content that all I want is to make sense of what I read. So صواريخ, if you come across the word صواريخ, and you see it صواريخ or صواريخ, and it doesn't have kasra, it doesn't take kasra, immediately you will figure out what's happening, especially when you remind yourself of the rule of alif al-taksir followed by three letters, the middle of which is sakin. Fa'ail, another pattern. You should be aware of, but you don't have to memorize. Fa'ail, sahaif, wa'ajaib. Sahaif means scrolls. Yeah, scrolls. It can be used for a number of, so it could be newspapers. I used to call them sahaif. الصحيفة والصحائف. But really they are scrolls or leaves of trees. Okay? Leaves of trees. But the point is, again, we have alif al-taksir followed by two more letters. That's fine. Ajaib. Ajaib means wonders. Wonders. The singular of that is ajib wa ajibah. Ajib wa ajibah. Okay. Now we move on to fa'alil. Fa'alil. That's another pattern that meets the two criteria. Fa'alil. So we have asafir, which means sparrows. Yeah, sparrows, birds. Asafir. The singular of it is usfur. Usfur. Fawanis. Fawanis, similar to masabih, lamps. طيب. Fawanis and sorry, fawanis is the plural of fanus. Fanus. And it means lamps, lights. You can see it rhymes with this صيغة or this pattern. This wasn't فعاليل, فوانيس, right? So it will be ممنوع من الصرف. Yes. So the point is, do I need to memorize all of this? The answer is no. All you have to memorize is the rule I gave you here. This is the most important part. I'm going to put this one highlighted. This is the most important part. You know this. It has to be either alif al-taksir followed by harfan, by two letters, or three letters. أوسطها, the midst of it is sakin. Sakin means vowel, basically. Right? And these are some of these patterns. Right? Is that making sense? Right. So now what have we covered so far? We covered the first of the two categories. Remember I said the causes are two. The strong causes and the weak causes. Strong causes that by themselves, they can deny the ism tanween or sarf. And they are two. One of them is for the ism to end with alif al-ta'nith. And alif al-ta'nith can be alif al-ta'nith al-mamdūda and alif al-ta'nith al-maqsura. The second cause is for it to be in صيغة منتهى الجموع. صيغة منتهى الجموع. And we spoke about صيغة منتهى الجموع, it being a broken plural that has alif in the middle of it, the third letter specifically, and it has to be followed either by two letters or three. The middle of it is حرف ساكن, a letter that has sukun, which is a vowel. Right? So we are left now with the other category of causes that are weak, and therefore they need an additional cause for them to be for them to deny sarf. Right? But before I progress, I want to check with you. How do you feel? Do you feel like you can progress with this, or shall we just leave it here and do the other branch next week? It's quite a discussion, to be honest with you. Yeah? طيب. All right, let's do that. All right, let's move on to the Al-mamnūዕ min aṣ-Sarf li'illatayn. That ism which is denied sarf due to two causes, collectively, together, concurrently, happening, being true to the ism at the same time. One of them is ma'nawiyah, that's the primary one, ma'nawiyah, to do with meaning. And the second one is lafdiyah. Right? Now, the first one is al-alamiyatu ma'a illatin ukhra lafdiyah. For the ism to be alam, in addition to another illa that is lafdiyah. Is that clear? How many of them do we have? 6 of them. 6 of them. Meaning you have the different 6 permutations, if you're familiar with this word. And basically combinations, possible combinations. Al-alamiyah with 6 possible secondary attributes. Al-alamiyatu ma'a illatin ukhra lafdiyah. So what are the second one? For example, we're going to go al-alamiyatu wa ta'nith. And we're going to go here. Al-alamiyatu wal-ujma. And then we're going to have here al-alamiyatu waznun fi'li. Al-alamiyatu wal-adli. Al-alamiyatu wal-adlu. And then al-alamiyatu wa ziyadatu al-alif wal-nun. Al-alamiyatu wal-tarkib wal-masji. Right? So the basic one is al-alamiyah, it being alam. And then the second one, it being feminine. طيب. Are you familiar with this so far? طيب. So we have the first illa, the first weak illa is al-alamiyah. And it can be supported by 6 possible added reasons or added illa. Yes? The first one being here, al-alamiyatu wa ta'nith. Being alam in addition to being feminine. طيب. قال والتأنيث له 3 وجوه. Ta'nith, state of femininity, has 3 possible forms. 3 forms. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. تأنيث can be وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. التأنيث له 3 وجوه. تأنيث can have 3 possible forms in the Arabic language. Number 1, قد يكون التأنيث في المعنى وفي اللفظ. You can have a word that is feminine in meaning and also in utterance, in sound. It sounds feminine, and it also refers to a female. So في المعنى التأنيث for the femininity to be referring in the meaning to be referring to something that is feminine. And also that's female. وفي اللفظ, and for it to also sound feminine. Second possibility, قد يكون في اللفظ دون المعنى. So you may have a word that sounds feminine, right? But it's not referring to something that is particularly female. All of that will have examples, inshallah. وقد يكون في المعنى دون اللفظ. So you may have words that has the meaning, it refers to something female, but the word, the sound of the word has nothing to do with femininity. It doesn't sound feminine, right? فالأول, now if we go for the first one, قد يكون التأنيث في المعنى وفي اللفظ. طيب, now فالأول نحو عائشة. Now the word عائشة, is it referring to a female? Is it referring to a female? Yes. So المعنى is met. Is it, does it sound feminine? Yes. How does it sound feminine? By تاء التأنيث. This little ta here is called تاء التأنيث. So it is something that has something that is feminine in meaning and feminine in utterance, in sound. مؤنث أو تأنيث في المعنى وتأنيث في اللفظ. عائشة, خديجة, سلمى, أسماء. All of these, as we've just covered, what الألف ألف التأنيث المقصورة وألف التأنيث الممدودة. All of these are names that are مؤنثة في المعنى ومؤنثة في اللفظ. Yes. الثاني, قد يكون في اللفظ مؤنث في اللفظ دون المعنى, but not in meaning. So when you speak about the word Hamza, Hamza now does it refer to a female? No, so it's not referring to in meaning, it doesn't refer to female. But does it sound female? Yes, it has تاء التأنيث at the end. طلحة, same thing. طلحة is a name of a man. It's not referring to a female, but it ends with تاء التأنيث. حنظلة, حنظلة is one of the names of the Sahaba. All of these are names of Sahaba. حنظلة, تاء التأنيث is there, so it sounds feminine, but it's referring to a man called حنظلة. So these words are feminine in sound, but not in meaning. But we'll still point at this word and say this is feminine. This is مؤنثة, كلمة مؤنثة, وهذه كلمة مؤنثة. Now والثالث نحو. الثالث هي قد يكون في المعنى دون اللفظ. You may have words that are in meaning referring to a female, but in the lafz, in the utterance, there's nothing feminine about the lafz. There's no تاء التأنيث, there's no ألف التأنيث there. نحو سعاد. سعاد is the name of a female. Is there any, so it's definitely in terms of meaning is feminine. In terms of utterance, in terms of lafz, there's nothing there that is feminine in the sound of the word. But we still call it كلمة مؤنثة. We call it مؤنثة. Why are we categorizing things like this? We just want to make sure that you don't get confused. You see them all these are أسماء مؤنثة, أعلام مؤنثة, and therefore all of them will be ممنوع من الصرف. Then all of them, they have علم, they are proper nouns, and they can be called مؤنث. Sometimes it's مؤنث meaning and utterance, sometimes it's utterance but not meaning, and sometimes meaning but not in utterance. So سعاد here is a female, is a word that refers to a female, but it is not feminine in utterance, in sound. زينب, مريم, all these things, as opposed to this category here where we have female names, but they have feminine sound. قال وهذا شرطه أن يكون فوق 3 أحرف، فإن كان ثلاثيا جاز صرفه وجاز منعه من الصرف، ومثاله هند ودعد ووعد وشهد. طيب, at this level I try to not to give you too much details. طيب, but for this category they say for this to be ممنوع من الصرف, it has to be beyond or more than 3 letters. If it's 3 letters, then it is not mamnūʿ as-sarf. Or you can make it mamnūዕ as-sarf, or you can make it مصروف. For example, Hind. Hind consists of how many letters? Is it feminine? But because it consists of 3 letters, you can either make it mamnūዕ min as-sarf, or you can make it munsarif. For example, you could say جاءت هند, هند, and you can say جاءت hindu. The Arabs spoke in both ways. دعد, another name, دعد. You can say جاءت دعد وجاءت دعد. وعد and شهد, جاءت شهد وجاءت شهد. There are other details that we'll have to leave it for another round of studying al-mamnūዕ as-sarf. But this level of depth is sufficient for you. So basically, what's the purpose for why we delved into these kind of details? I want you to make sure that when you come across a word called Hamza, for example, you don't say this is not mu'annath. It's not referring to a female, but it's mu'annath in sound. And Su'ad, you don't say it's not mu'annath, it's mu'annath in meaning, even though it's not mu'annath in utterance. So you will say جاءت سعاد, رأيت سعادة, رأيت سعادة, وسلمت على سعادة. وزينب ممنوع من الصرف أيضا للعالمية والتأنيث. جاءت زينب ورأيت زينب وسلمت على زينب ومريم. The same thing. I think this suffices for today. I have fried your brain, I think. Too much details, like I said, but I want you to accept this notion that you will, the more exposure you have to the concepts, the more you will become familiar with it, inshallah. So next week, bidna ta'ala, we can just tackle this fully, and we can end this al-mamnūʿ min as-sarf. Right? Is that anybody got a question for what we covered so far? All right. We'll stop here, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wa iyyakum, inshallah. It freezes here. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف حالكم؟ السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. جزاكم الله. This is where it freezes. So, how are you, my brothers? Okay, inshallah. We're going to take a small break, and then we can do our following class, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. We managed to do some revision. Ahmed caught up to the end of the revision. I hope you are familiar with this. Is this Ahmed? Yes. Saying that he's going to come.
So respectfully,
Huh?
respectfully.
No, you must know, brother. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, brother? MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, MashaAllah, you kept your word, huh? Let me good.
Oh, you guys know what? I've been all right. It's scared for us. Yeah, also, yeah, what? ICT. ICT. Yeah, that's he was far away, so I didn't get to. Yeah, like 5 minutes. But in 5 minutes, I live in 4 years. Which I thought you come from. You remember somewhere else before? But I was always really fucked up. 7 years ago, I was living in Tucking North. I think I have to go on Bristol. So then you came here, you were in front of you. I know what you. We didn't have this conversation, did we? I don't think so. I thought you came from somewhere like Malaysia or something like that. Yeah, that's when we got Australia. Yeah. It's all right. You're busy. Busy you know something? No. Yeah, to be honest, I'm just starting to be studying away. Oh, I haven't been looking at salaries. What did you? What did you do? I know I'm busy with family, so I'm embarrassed too. You didn't go with really? Yeah, SubhanAllah. Get crashed. I didn't get crashed indeed. Get crashed indeed. I didn't realize, you know. Really? Wow. Okay. So that's I thought it was the same. Also, it was good. Refresh. Yeah, I started looking again. Wait, I'm something. I'll still you haven't gone for the first time you looked at me. Yeah. I've been a few times. He hasn't occurred to you. He has never occurred to you until now. Until now that you just mentioned, I'm like, I was thinking when you said you went to Umrah. I didn't realize you guys went together. Yeah. The moment you said you went to Umrah, I just did like this. First time comes this. It never occurred to me before.
That he.
Then I don't know how to explain it. I know it's gone before, it's gone a lot of times, but yeah, that linkage and it's never got to me. Now, instinctively, I just did like this.
MashaAllah. Brother Muhammad, MashaAllah, welcome to have you with us. Finally, MashaAllah. How was your family? How was work? All good?
Yeah, just busy.
MashaAllah.
So you saw me late yesterday.
Yes, MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Nice to have you, my brother. Abdul Hafid, how are you, my brother? How was your family? How was work? All good? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Sheikh Ahmed,
Yes,
how have you been? Still hunting?
Still hunting. Not as much, but yeah.
Very good, lovely.
And cool.
I was at this Eritrean wedding. Yeah, what's the end of it? Somewhere in what can we do, you know? We have to keep, you know, if you're invited, you just have to go. I saw your culture, you did that, and dancing with some sword like things.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't been to many Eritrean weddings myself.
Yeah.
You've probably been to more than that.
Maybe. It's very interesting though.
No luck on your side.
Yeah, subhanAllah. I was even telling, let me say for the past 2-3 months, I've spoken to like 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but there was one, it got to a very good stage, but she was like, I don't want to do this. I was like, fine. Because she left the West to Morocco. Yeah, so she said she doesn't want to come back.
That's one.
Yeah.
Those of you who are following the notes online, how are you finding them so far? Any technical hiccups, glitches? All good, huh? MashaAllah. We haven't seen your brother in a long while now.
For us,
Yeah.
I haven't managed to see him that long.
Subhanallah.
Saw him last 6 Saturday at my sister's place.
Mm.
So it's been like 10 years I saw you last.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah, life sometimes when it takes you, it takes you.
the man now he needs to take care of at home.
Huh?
So he's the man now, he needs to take care of at home. So however, I think he had to find himself some job to just to get by.
Wallahi, lately I've been contemplating on this concept. يعني our level of heedlessness, that we have not really fathomed what the akhirah really is. If I was to put this in something that is really bugging me myself personally, even though I'm trying to understand it, but it's so difficult to fully grasp the concept. But let me run this by you, and I hope it does to you what it did to me. In maths, have you come across the concept? Oh, before I get there, if we have 10 people and we have 10 pounds to split between them, how much will they get? A pound each. If we have 100 pounds to split between the 10, how much will they get? 10 pounds each. If we have 1,000,000 pounds to split between them, as the number goes bigger and bigger and bigger, the portion of each one of them becomes greater, right? What if we get to what we call infinity? How much does each one of them get? Infinity. Okay? So the reward of every action you do has infinity to it. This is the part that you just need to let it sink in properly. Even the word subhanallah, its reward cannot be fathomed. You cannot comprehend how much you get for saying subhanallah, because it's infinity. The reward of it is a reward that lasts for eternity. How much is that? How much is that? You know? So us now passing a second without saying subhanallah, we don't realize how much of a loss that is. When will we realize this? May Allah make us of the people of Jannah in Jannah. In Jannah, we will realize how much have we lost. You know, in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that Allah would pay the people of Jannah a visit, and he will keep on asking them, what more can I give you? And they will say, take us back to dunya. All we want is to go back and do more of this. Allah will say, this, I cannot give you this. I made a decree that whoever comes out of dunya will never come back to it. You know, he keeps on asking them, what more do you want? They want nothing other than coming back to dunya. You know, Allah will tell them, and the hadith says, Allah will keep on asking them, what more can I give you? They keep on asking the same thing until it gets to a point where Allah will just leave them. Nothing. They want nothing more than coming back to dunya so they can do more. You know, and we, subhanallah, we are in this dunya. We're not realizing how much of a loss we are making. You know, and the notion of wal asr innal insana lafi khusr. By time, man is committing the greatest of all losses, but he's not realizing. You know, and with this in mind, you know, you ask yourself, what am I gaining in place of the time in which I could be saying La ilaha illallah, or I could be saying Subhanallah, or I could be reading Quran, each of which have the reward of infinity reward infinite amount of reward, unbound, countless, that you cannot put a number to, right? We are sacrificing this reward for what? Yeah. So this notion that we are too busy to work for our akhirah is something that we will regret very, very much in the akhirah. You know? We're not realizing nothing that we pursue in which there is no Allah in it is worth it. You know, we sometimes think of, how do I hold the stick from the middle? What middle? There's no middle in this. You know, I was struggling with this notion of people sacrificing their lives for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thinking this is nothing, you know, until I thought of this. You know, when this concept becomes clear to you, and you know that the people of Shahada, all they want when they go to the Akhirah is to go back and die again in the cause of Allah. You know, then the concept of sacrificing your being for the sake of Allah becomes something that you can begin to comprehend. Can begin to comprehend what it means to actually be ready to die for the sake of Allah. Only those who understand how much reward they get for martyrdom, and the fact that when they go to Jannah, they will still wish if they can come back. The Prophet ﷺ says, even the shaheed will wish to come back into dunya only to die, to fight and die more, to fight and die more. Why? When they see the reward, it will shock them. It's like they never expected the reward to be in this abundance. So we are in this dunya, we need to reflect on the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, for us to appreciate what it means, what this dunya in relation to al-akhirah. And what it means for one foolish individual among us to say, I'm too busy for the Quran. I'm too busy, I can't do Qiyam al-Layl. I'm too busy, I cannot fast Mondays and Thursdays. You know, these words, we are not comprehending to what extent they are foolish, really foolish for anyone to be busy with anything other than working for the Akhirah. Yeah? So we need to be thinking, you know, when we say that I am too busy, I can't do this, this is too much, I need to hold the stick from the middle, etc. All nonsense. All nonsense. All just reflection of our shallow understanding of our purpose of this dunya. What are you here to do? Are you here to really work and collect money and enjoy pleasures and eat and drink and all of that? Okay? We're not here for this purpose, Allah. So the more you realize this, the more you will be able to comprehend this concept, and the more ready you will become to do what has to be done. You know, we are, subhanAllah, not ready to sacrifice anything for the sake of Allah. You know, it's like whatever we do is just too much for Allah. The problem is we still haven't understood who Allah is. We still haven't understood what akhirah means in relation to a dunya. We still could not understand the true value of this dunya, so we can let go of it. You know, may Allah save us from this foolishness that we are in, Allah, this heedlessness. A lot of the times, wallah, whatever we are running after is nonsense. Wallahi, is nonsense. It's just understanding. If you deepen your understanding, you will realize, subhanallah, what am I doing? What am I doing? So, subhanallah, I was reflecting that the only thing that the people of Jannah cannot have, the wish, is something that we have now. You know, the only thing that the people of Jannah cannot have, and we have it, is being here. Once you go, that's it, you've lost it. It's crazy, subhanAllah, how one line of knowledge can be so powerful, but it doesn't penetrate as deep as it penetrates to other people. And it's a scary concept. The same notion, the same concept made other people do some massive, crazy things in their short life. The same notion, the same idea, we hear it, and it does very little. It's very concerning.
Okay, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
If what advice or how can someone approach or answer a child of like 12 years old that is living here, that doesn't have any interest, just as many others in the deen, that the father is trying to push him to learn the Quran, to learn Islamiyah, and just to familiarize himself with the knowledge. But anytime it's time for class, saying like, I'm not interested in this thing, I'm feeling I am
12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years old.
Do you remember this age? I told you about this age.
This way? Well,
12 years old. Salam alaikum wa barakatuh. How are you? How are you doing? Good? MashaAllah. Barakallah feek. How are you doing? Alhamdulillah. Barakallah feek. MashaAllah. Sounds like cattle. Yeah, maybe I spoke to Sadiq maybe by this age, with children being accepting to follow instructions from parents only at the age until the age of 12. He's asking how to convince a child 12 years old to do something they don't feel like they want to do. If you're going to start that journey from 12, you're a little bit too late. In that age, whatever impression that you've already built in them, that would be what you can rely on. So the age between 6, I would say 6, 5, beginning from 5, that's when they are looking up to you as a parent, say daddy. They are interested in making you pleased, interested in seeing the looks of satisfaction in your eyes. That means a lot to them. Right? But as they grow older and older, when they hit 12, that becomes less the case. They become independent thinkers. They are no longer interested in what you think is right. Now they want to know what sounds right for them. That's what they will be interested in doing. So a lot of parents, they don't realize this. They miss that opportunity. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you give up if the children have reached the age of 12. I'm just saying that people should work on this project much earlier. When you get to the age of 12, still children are known to be, especially the youth, very emotional, very, very emotional. And they will be very driven. They will have a lot of energy in them. They want to do something, and if they don't do anything meaningful, if they don't have anything given to them, like the purpose for why we are here, the topic I was talking to you about just now, knowing that we are here to accumulate wealth for us to spend in the hereafter. If this idea is not drilled in their mind like proper, they will find anything that gives them purpose. I was driving today with my family, and I saw this youth, Salman, Ahmed, and some, the youth, and this trend of just growing afro, and I'm thinking, what is in that? It is definitely not the fashion. It's definitely not the looks, right? Because there's nothing about that is attractive or beautiful or whatever. There's something else. And it's, quite frankly, it is not to do with liking it, because a lot of them, when they grow in a certain understanding, they find that's petty, but that's the youth. If you don't give them a purpose, we have to find a purpose. They have a lot of energy in them. They have a lot of energy. They don't know what to do with it. They have a lot of passion. So they have to develop any passion. So whatever they see, they put their hearts into it. Okay? So if you give them, having reached the age of 12, if you still try your best to instill interest in them in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taking him as a model, the Sahaba, taking them as models and amazing yani, titans that we need to follow, heroes that we need to follow their examples. Even love of Allah, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instilled in our heart his love, and when we love him, you know, we get motivated. We get motivated a lot. So if you instill in this child's mind how much Allah has done for us, you know, and how much he's still doing for us, and how kindly he's treating us, right? This is something that we, a lot of the time, we lose track of. We struggle to understand, why should I love Allah that intensely? Some people, they don't know what they should love. They should love Allah because they should love Allah. Right? But really, to love Allah until you are able to let go of everything for the sake of Allah, this is a notion that sounds alien. Right? Because we have not yet comprehended how much Allah has done for us. But the discussion that we just had earlier about, you know, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you in this path, the path in which you're going to go to Jannah, in which you're going to have infinite amounts of reward. Right? If you bring this into the context, you will realize Allah has gifted you with massive things. Massive things. And if you only think about dunya, then your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be limited to how much He gave you in this dunya. But if you think of what Allah has given you in terms of akhirah, infinite life in which you can have anything you want and live in the most luxurious life in which you are always young, never becoming old, never becoming sick, never needing to sleep, never needing to defecate, urinate, you know, never getting ill, you know, having whatever you wish for, whatever springs to your mind, whoever gives you this, you know, how much do you love them? Right? We struggle to love Allah when He gave us that. It takes you reflecting on this, the fact that Allah made you a Muslim. Do you realize how much He gave you? You know? So these values, if you instill them in the heart of a child, even a grown-up, you will say, Allah, having given me all of this, anything He wants of me, anything in this dunya He wants of me, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to sacrifice anything. Right? But it's just we're not realizing this notion of what does the akhirah really means. You know? So for a child, when they hit age 12, this is how you need to speak to them. You know, and sadly, a lot of the youth are not being spoken to like this. You know, sometimes a young person, just telling them, you say Subhanallah. I remember as a youth, the first time I heard of Subhanallah 33 times, and Alhamdulillah 33 times, and then Allahu Akbar 33 times, and then La ilaha illallah will make you more rewarded than even the rich who have money to give. So it really got to me. I was very excited about it. You know, what is it? Youth are like this. Give them any purpose, they will lash onto it. You know, they will hold on to it. But we're failing. We're failing our youth, Allah. You know, if we teach them, we're teaching them something that is spiritless, something that has no life to it, not something that doesn't move, right? Or we are making them even do something they don't understand. You know, like reading, memorizing Quran, which is good. But if you at the same time make them have some sense of spirituality to it, but without that, it's just a matter of time before they tell you that this doesn't make sense. I'm learning something which is demanding. Memorizing Quran is very demanding. You know, I'm trying to do something, but I am lacking motivation. I don't see the point of it. Eventually, they stop. So the youth, they need a lot of feeding. A lot, like all of us, like even us grown-ups, we need a lot of spiritual feeding, a lot of reflection. You know, the Quran, as I always say, Quran is the way. Quran is reflect on the Quran, read the Quran. Quran will change you. I posted something on my social media earlier. Ibn Uthaymeen was speaking about hardened hearts. You know, the hearts when they become hard. And he said hearts, they can be harder than rocks. They can be harder than rocks. But he says we should not give up. because we have the Quran with us. And Allah told us in the Quran, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. If we were to reveal this Quran to mountains that are made of rocks, it will change them. It will break them, let alone your hearts that are made to love Allah, that are made to glorify Allah. They are made to be driven towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the Quran does this to mountains, what will it do to your heart? Okay? But we really need to revisit the way we think of Quran. And this Quran is really powerful, Allah. Really powerful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ قُرْآنًا قُطِّعَتْ بِهِ الْأَرْضُ قُطِّعَتْ بِهِ أو سُيِّرَتْ بِهِ الْجِبَالُ أو كُلِّمَتْ بِهِ الْمَوْتَى. If there was a book with which one can cut off pieces of land, right, and move mountains from their positions and bring back the dead to speak to them, it will be this book. This book can give you powers that you don't comprehend. I was speaking to the brothers about this in the previous meeting. Huh? Yeah. The fact that our spirit, our souls, has powers beyond our bodies. Our souls have powers beyond our bodies. If you think about your body, what can your body do? Can you move mountains with your body? But souls, if you expose them to Quran enough times, you can think of a mountain and move it. This is alien to us. But Allah says that if there is a book that can make people have all these powers, it's this Quran. But obviously you have not even tapped into 1% of the power of Quran. The power of Quran is equivalent to the power of the one who spoke the Quran. It's in proportion to his powers. So just imagine, just put that in context. So what we don't understand that this is something that is to do with Allah, and its power is proportional to the power of Allah. The amount of time and effort that we are spending on this is just ridiculous. We're not realizing this. I was saying to the brothers about this, about Sulaiman alayhi salam saying to the people who he had in his gathering that day, and he says when the hoopoe, the birds, when he told him إني رأيت امرأة تملكهم ولها عرش عظيم. He said, I found that this woman that has possession, تملكهم, she has good grip on them, and she had mighty throne. Throne also is a reflection of how much power she has on them. The greater the throne, that's what Allah speaks about, his throne being bigger than the creation themselves, to show you how much grip he has in his power. إني رأيت امرأة تملكهم ولها عرش عظيم. She has a very mighty throne. And then Sulaiman alayhi salam, he says, أيكم يأتيني بعرشها قبل أن يأتوني مسلمين. Who of you, his counselors, his deputies and all that, who of you has the power to bring me her throne before they come to me in submission? أيكم يأتيني بعرشها قبل أن يأتوني مسلمين. قال عفريت من الجن, one mighty powerful jinn, he said, I can bring it to you before you finish judging between people. قبل أن تقوم من مقامك هذا. And he used to judge between people from Fajr all the way till just before the Dhuhr. So by midday, say 12 o'clock, say 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it will be with you. عفريت من الجن, قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. A man who has knowledge of the book, قال عنده علم من الكتاب, I can bring it to you before you blink. فلما رآه مستقرا عنده قال هذا من فضل ربي ليبلوني أشكركم. He just blank, and it was there. Now how did he bring it? He was not a jinn, he was a human. How did he bring it? With his physical body? With his soul. With your soul you can do a lot. Just tap into this Quran. This human soul is capable of a lot. But if you expose it to the Quran in the way we should, oftentimes you think of those Sahaba, how did they do things? How did they live the type of life they lived? And I've been thinking about this one, reading this a lot, their lifestyle, how did they live? And the one thing that I found standing out is the fact that they used to finish the Quran every week. Meaning every night they would read 1/7 of the Quran. Sometimes you would read one verse, one sentence. It would create madness within you. One verse. Have you experienced? We've all experienced this. One verse moving you like crazy, subhanAllah. So you can imagine if this is one verse or one sentence within a verse that does this to you. Imagine if you're reading this Quran 1/7 of it every night, regularly, finishing the Quran every week. What will this Quran do to them? That's why we're not surprised. If you put this in the context, you should not be surprised as what they did. You know? So definitely, Quran all the way. Quran all the way. You should devote your life for Quran. And you have to understand that this will come at a price. You know, you cannot be collecting dunya and expecting to be also excelling in Quran. And this is a basic rule that we're not gonna get the Quran until we appreciate this rule. Okay? Quran, you have to free yourself for the Quran, okay? Which means you have to be engaged less and less and less and less with this dunya. The more of this dunya, you know, the more problems, the more obstacles, the more hurdles you have in your hand. You know, a lot of the times, what are we doing throughout the day? If you look at your day, you're either earning money, you're either protecting money, or you're either recovering from earning money, you know. Sometimes you think, how many times, let alone Quran, sometimes the whole day will pass and you have not read any Quran. You ask yourself, how many times have I managed to say La ilaha illallah? How many times have I said Subhanallah? How many times have I thought of Allah? We're not doing well, Allah. We're not doing very well. And we need to wake up. We need to realize what's happening. Going back to the youth, you just tell them one of these words. Allah, you can transform them. You can transform them. The youth are not hearing the right rhetoric, you know, the right narratives. They're not hearing it. What they are hearing is not really conducive of moving the energy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instilled in the youth. Yes, my brother, yes.
Within the last khutbah you gave, in relation to like myself, and the way the world is moving today, and all this jama'at all over claiming to be calling to jihad and to establishment of Islamic leadership or rulership. How can one connect, or how can one really know which jama'at is rightly equipped or is sincere for that cause?
Ibn Taymiyyah has a rule. He says, don't worry too much about changing people. Don't worry too much about enjoying the good, forbidding the evil, doing jihad fi sabilillah. You just show Allah sincerity that that's what you want, and Allah will put you at the right place. He says, he was asked once, how do we enjoin the good and forbid evil? He says, don't worry about this. Allah will choose you, and He will put you in the right place if He finds you sincere. Just be sincere. Just be sincere and let Allah see that you are sincere, and then He will honor you. Because not everybody get to do stuff like this. This is big honor. You know, you're not going to be chosen to be the one that does things that is massive enough to impact the lives of many. This is not going to happen unless, because this is honor. How much reward you're going to get for this is unlimited. Is He going to give this to anyone? No, He has to see you that you are sincere, you are devoted, you are able. That's why I was speaking about sacrificing. Why sacrifice things? Because Allah wants to see how eager you are, how much desire do you have for this. If He gives it to you when you don't desire it, He will not be wise. If Allah gives you anything and you don't desire it, He will be unwise. Yeah. So that's why I say there's nothing like reading Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There's nothing like reading what creates within you the desire. So reading At-Targhib wa Tarhib, reading the life stories of the Prophets of Allah, reading the life stories of the companions of the Prophets of Allah, reading the Quran. Let the Quran create this burning desire within you. And once you have that desire to the right degree, Allah will give you. Allah will gift you things. Okay? So we're thinking that we want to do this and we want to do that. But reality is, we don't get to do anything we want. You only get to do what Allah chooses you for. So don't think about that end. Think here. Am I sincere enough? Am I fulfilling what is needed to be fulfilled within my current capacity? Am I sacrificing things? We fail in the silliest of things, wallah. We fail in the silliest of things. We can't honor Allah not to lie. We can't honor Allah by standing for what we believe is the truth. We fail Allah in this sort of petty things. Why should we think Allah will choose us for grand, big things? So the ulama, they say, every time Allah puts you in a place and you are in a circumstance where you can honor Allah in something, they say you need to be mindful that Allah is testing you whether or not you are ready for a bigger gift. Become mindful that is a situation in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is checking. Are you worthy or not worthy? If you pass, Allah gives you more. If you don't pass, Allah will not give you anything. Okay? So when we get into this kind of tests, we don't realize that this is a test. We think it's just a matter of one more sin or one less sin. Is one hasana extra or one sayyah more? Right? That's as far as we can see it. But it's much more than this. The people who did grand things in the past, how did they do it? You can almost testify that this is Allah, not them. Because what they did is something that humans cannot do. You only get to do what Allah permits you to do. I was discussing the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about him and how much He honored him and how much He elevated him. Allah, He said that وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ. He says, you wonder how Sulaiman got to this position. He says, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا. We have indeed tested Sulaiman very severely for us to give him all this power. He used to control the wind. He used to control jinn. Some of them they will obey him. Some of them He will put them in chains. Something beyond your comprehension. So He said, if you want to know why Allah, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ. وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ. But then in order to make him ready for this sort of gifts and blessings, He says, وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيِّهِ جَسَدًا. So the ulama, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him with a sickness that made him crippled, disabled. Allah made him disabled. He was in his throne, unable to move his hands, he was paralyzed. In order to make him stop and think, Allah made him paralyzed. So Sulaiman has to stop everything and rethink everything. He came to the right conclusions and Allah released him. He recovered. And then after he recovered, Allah says, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا سُلَيْمَانَ وَأَلْقَيْنَا عَلَى كُرْسِيِّهِ جَسَدًا ثُمَّ أَنَابَ. Then he came back to us. He became in the right way he should be. ثُمَّ أَنَابَ قَالَ رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي. He says, my Lord, forgive me. I was not living how I was supposed to be living. I was not thinking how I was supposed to be thinking. قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي ملكا لا ينبغي لأحد من بعد. Ya Allah, give me a control, a dominion, a kingdom that You will not give to anyone after me. Look at the fact that he asked. What does that tell you? He knew what it takes to be given. He knew what it takes to be given. Allah is looking at a mindset. How are you thinking? How are you thinking? What's in your mind? What do you want? If Allah realizes that you are thinking in the right way, you will be amazed at Allah's gifts. So he thought Allah crippled him. ألقينا على كرسيه جسدا. He became like a body, like a soulless body. طيب. ثم أناب. After reflecting and thinking whilst in this state, he returned to Allah and became how he should be. And then when he recovered to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لي. Ya Allah, forgive me for how I lived and how I thought before. وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ بَعْدِ. Ya Allah, give me a kingdom that no one can ever have after me. Allah said, what did Allah say? فَسَخَّرْنَا لَهُ الرِّيحَ تَجْرِي بِأَمْرِهِ رُخَاءً حَيْثُ أَصَابَ. We gave him the wind. وَالشَّيَاطِينَ. We subjugated the shayateen. If you say the shayateen, the ulama, they say, it means everything else from what is physical and tangible was subjugated until he got to the realms of jinn, meaning all the animals, all the birds, all the insects, all of that was already within his kingdom. And he transcended that to the jinn. Right? والشياطين, he says, even the shayateen. كل بناء وغواص وآخرين مقرنين في الأصفاد. What does Allah say? هذا عطاؤنا. Allah says, this is how we give. هذا عطاؤنا فمن أو أمسك بغير حساب. We leave it to you. Do what you will, and we will never account you. Allah is telling him, do it. He trusts that this person has the right mindset. And therefore, do as you will. Do as you please. هذا عطاؤنا. Look, this is how we give. You just be in the right mindset. You just stop and think. Get in your head the right mindset. Allah will amaze you with his gifts. He will tell you, فَمْنٌ أَوْ أَمْسِكْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Do whatever you will, we trust you. Allah says, هَذَا وَإِنَّ لَهُ عِنْدَنَا لَزُلْفَى وَحُسْنَ مَآبٍ. This is what we gave him in this dunya. What awaits him in the akhirah is much more than this. So really, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you is dependent on your mindset. You know, how you're thinking. Change who you are. And you could be righteous. Right? But there is righteous and there is righteous. There's good intention and there is good intention. You know, and there's sincerity and there is real sincerity. Devotion, dedication to one level, and there's devotion and dedication to another level. You know, how you are, Allah will give you. This kind of teaching, subhanAllah, is really important because we don't get to hear this a lot. And the ulama, they speak like this, but sometimes they say these gems in passing. You know, they say it and you just, before you end up catching anything, they finish the sentence. So you have to do a lot of thinking, a lot of reflection. It's in there in the Quran. We just have to stop and think, you know.
No. Based on what you've been saying, it seems it has a connection to the hadith of the Prophet that I think is an hadith Qudsi. But Allah said, is it related?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, I'll be to my servant how he thinks of me. You know, who you think Allah is, how do you think of Allah, and then Allah will become for you, just depending on your mindset. You know, change begins in you thinking, and we can all admit that we don't have time to think these days. We're just running, and as long as we are running with the current mindset, Allah will have to limit you. Because as a human being, we've seen, Allah gave us examples around us. We see people who have not matured enough. When Allah gave them power, what did they do? You know, we see the tyrant rulers and the oppressors and the people who had a little bit of power. What did they do? Imagine if Allah gave each one of us, without being developed spiritually, what we want. We will cause havoc in this dunya. You know? So Allah says, everything belongs to me. I have the dominion. I have وَمَا مِن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا عِنْدَنَا مَفَاتِحُ. There's nothing here except that the treasures of it, we have the key to it. You know, Allah is in control. وَلَهُ مَقَالِيدُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah says everything is under his control. He can give. The problem is that you guys are not ready to receive. If he gives you, you will become destructive. You know? So really, we owe it to ourselves. Alhamdulillah, these kind of classes, they have to be the seeds. Take them on, you know, and do something with it. You know, a lot of the time we hear something that can move mountains, wallah. Okay? But we don't follow up on it. We don't sit down, we don't appreciate it, we don't deepen our thought on it. And then it becomes like any other information. May Allah save us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. وإياكم إن شاء الله. طيب, due to the limitation of time, because we spent too much time talking about this, which is, I think it's beneficial, but I would like to share with you today something that is not from our usual class. Similar to what I was saying earlier, from the speech of the ulama who got there, who are there, and they speak in ways that we don't appreciate. They understand the deen, the spirit of the deen, in ways we seem to have missed out on. This is a treatise, small book, written by Ibn Qudam al-Maqdisi. Have you heard of Ibn Qudam al-Maqdisi? Ibn Qudam al-Maqdisi is the one who wrote Al-Mughni, the book of the encyclopedia of fiqh. You know, if there's one book that has changed and recorded the everything that was done, all the work that was done in the Hanbali school of thought, it's Ibn Qudamah. And all the people who came after him, they were dependent on his work. So he has a book that he called Al-Wasiyyah, Wasiyyah Ibn Qudamah. Obviously, I cannot go through the entire thing. It's 78 pages, but I will go through a small section in which he gave an example as to one moment he was reflecting. One moment he was reflecting, and he thought of this dunya, and Ya Allah, Ya Allah. He was reflecting, and I will give you the reflection, his reflection. We'll go through something that he said as an example. He says, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, اغتنم رحمك الله حياتك النفيسة. He says, may Allah bless you. Take full advantage of this precious life of yours. Your life is much more precious than you think. واحتفظ بأوقاتك العزيزة. And be very stringent in protecting your invaluable times, an invaluable life. Then he says, واعلم أن مدة حياتك محدودة وأنفاسك معدودة. Be mindful that your life is limited, and the amount of breath that will have to take of this world is also limited. فكل نفس ينقص به جزء منك. Every breath that you take is reducing you. You are less every time you breathe. والعمر كله قصير. And your life is, on its entirety, is short. والباقي منه هو اليسير. And whatever is left of it is short from whatever is already short. وكل جزء منه جوهرة نفيسة لا عد لها ولا خلف منها. Every second of your life is a very precious diamond that no one can value, no one can really set a price for, and no one can substitute it. Once you lose it, it's gone. لا خلف منها. فإن بهذه الحياة اليسيرة خلود الأبد في النعيم أو العذاب الأليم. Depending on this short life that does not compare at all to the akhirah, everything in the akhirah will be dependent on what you do in this dunya. Time-wise, how do you compare 60 to 70 years compared to infinity? It's what? Zero. This life is zero compared to an akhirah. Yet, everything that occurs in the akhirah is dependent on what you do in this dunya. If I was to elaborate on this, the people of Jannah, may Allah make us all the people of Jannah. The people of Jannah will be invited to see Allah and converse with Allah and hear the speech of Allah live, in person. How close will they sit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How close? That's dependent on how close they were to Allah in this dunya. So every time the people of Jannah go to sit with Allah and speak with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where they sit is already going to be determined by how close you are to Allah now. And how often do you meet Allah? Even if you end up being in Jannah, may Allah make us of the people of Jannah. Right? We can't even entertain the thought of us not being in Jannah. Like, just imagine if Allah bless us and forgive us and we are admitted to Jannah, how often will you and how much time will you be allowed to look at Allah? Do you think you will be able to look at Allah and be in His presence in the same amount of time the people who were always conscious of Allah in this dunya? That would not be fair. So basically, how much time you have with Allah is going to be determined by how much you've looked at Allah in your day in this dunya. So on your average day, how much do you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much do you looking at Allah in this dunya? With your heart, with your mind. How often does Allah come to your mind in this dunya? You can measure by one day. Ask yourself today, what percentage would you give? So that will determine how much time you will be allowed to spend looking at Allah and being marveled at His beauty, at His perfection, and being able to hear His voice, being able to speak to Him. Okay? That will be determined by how often have you seen Him in this dunya. So basically, you can imagine that you will be told, "Oh, people of Jannah, come, you're going to meet Allah today." And then you go, when you get to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll find that there were other people who were there before you. And you sit there, and at some point, the angels come and tell you, "This is enough for you today. Go back to Jannah." And you can see that those who were there before you are still there. You have to leave them behind you. How is it possible how do you comprehend this? These people who were able to see Allah and talk to Allah and look at Allah more than you did in this dunya. So this dunya is short, but everything in the akhirah will be determined by how you are in this dunya. Wallahi, this notion is crazy. If we really comprehend this, we will be frightened, wallah. We will be frightened not on what we are doing today, just the thought of how did the past go? How did the past go? And how will the remaining go? So he says here, فَإِنَّ بِهَذِهِ الْحَيَاةِ الْيَسِيرَةِ, based on this short life, خُلُودُ الْأَبَدِ فِي النَّعِيمِ, your eternal life in bliss in the hereafter will be dependent on this life. Even al-adhab al-alim, the people in the fire of hell, the torment, the torture they go through will be also dependent on what they did in this dunya. So this dunya is short, but don't undermine it. It's everything that will determine the akhirah. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, something I shared with you not long ago, وَإِذَا عَادَلْتَ هَذِهِ الْحَيَاةِ بِخُلُودِ الْأَبَدِ. So if you compare, he says, if you compare this life with eternity, بِخُلُودِ الْأَبَدِ, you compare this to خُلُود الْأَبَدِ, عَلِمْتَ أَنَّ كُلَّ نَفَسٍ يَعْدِلُ مِنْ أَلْفِ عَامٍ فِي نَعِيمٍ لَا حَصْرَ لَهُ. You will realize that every breath, this is to say every second, because you breathe in a second, this means that every second is equivalent to 1,000 years. Obviously here, if you can put 10 words of thousand, he would have done that, but the book will finish. But he said every breath is equivalent to 1,000 years in the bliss that is unbound. You know the concept I spoke to you about this earlier, about infinity and أو خلاف ذلك وما كان هكذا فلا قيمة له. Everything you do in this dunya will either produce bliss or torment, and both of which is eternal. And now think of how you squander in this dunya, and what are you chasing in this dunya. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, فَلَا تُضَيِّعْ جَوَاهِرَ عُمْرِكَ النَّفِيسَ بِغَيْرِ عَمَلٍ. Don't let this precious seconds and moments of your life to be wasted without action, without doing righteous deed. وَلَا تُذْهِبْهَا بِغَيْرِ عِوَضٍ. Don't do it without substitute, without compensation. Make sure that you are compensated very well, very handsomely for every second. Be stingy with your time. وَاجْتَهِدْ أَنْ لَا يَخْلُوَ نَفَسٌ مِّنْ أَنْفَاسِكَ إِلَّا فِي عَمَلِ طَاعَةٍ. He says, strive that every second of your day, every breath you take is in a righteous deed. أو قربة تتقرب بها, or something righteous that you draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with. فإنك لو كانت معك جوهرة من جواهر الدنيا فضاعت منك لحزنت عليها حزنا شديدا. Subhanallah. He says, if you have an actual diamond or something really like a pearl or a piece of gold or whatever, that's very precious and very expensive, how would you feel if you lose it? All of us, how would you feel? If you lost, say, for example, you have like a 1,000 pounds, right? And you were doing something and you lost it, how would you feel? Crazy, losing 1,000 pounds in today's world. But he says 1 second of your day is million times more important than the 1,000 pounds that you lose, over which you will cry and weep and become really distressed. That one ticket, when you get a ticket, see how you feel. A driving ticket or a traffic ticket. He says, لو كانت لديك جوهرة, if you had a diamond or some form of jewelry, and you lose it, قال لحزنت عليها حزنا شديدا. It will sadden you severely. You will become intensely sad. بل لو ضاع منك دينار, even if you lose 1 dinar, لساءك. You will be upset over it. طيب. فكيف تفرط في ساعاتك وأوقاتك? How then are you able to squander your seconds and your moments of the day? In other words, he's saying that you just don't realize what this life means to you. You really think that pounds are more precious than your seconds of the day, your breaths of the day. And that's what we do. We are chasing a lot of pounds, طيب, even though it could be something that we don't need. You know, in my khutbah recently, I said, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ hates money because it distracts him from working for the akhirah. And he made dua, and he used to say, Ya Allahumma ij'al rizqa ala Muhammadin quta. Another qira'ah, another narration, kafafa. Ya Allah, make the provisioning that you give to the family of Muhammad just what suffices. Just what suffices. No extras. He used to run away from extras because he knows anything extra will come at the expense of doing something for the akhirah. Now, do we have this understanding? A lot of us are chasing extras, not realizing that the way we are now is only because of the extras. Is only because of the extras that we are chasing. If we manage to make ourselves content with basics, we will do much more for our akhirah. He says, if losing 1 dinar will upset you, how do you waste hours of your time? وكيف لا تحزن على عمرك الذاهب بغير عوض? How are you content? How are you not sad that your life is being wasted without compensation? All of us now, if you ask ourselves how old we are, whatever old you are, ask yourself how much have you done that which is equivalent to the number of years you lived in this dunya? We ought to be sitting and weeping and crying, Allah, out of depression, Allah, for what we have done to ourselves. Yeah? So he says, and this is the part that I really wanted to share. He says, I have thought of this dunya. He's reflecting. He said, I reflected on this dunya and our stay in this dunya, and I have made this example. So we're going to go through this example and call it a day, inshallah. He says, وَإِنَّنِي خَطَرَ لِي أن أمثل هذه الدنيا وأهلها كمثل أهل سفينة. I would give you an example of this dunya, of a people on a ship. ألقتهم الريح إلى جزيرة في البحر فيها معادن الجواهر كلها. They were in their ship, and their ship in a stormy day took them to this island. An island that is precious of gold and silver, pearls, diamonds, you name it. Every type of precious stone, you find it in that island. He says, من الياقوت والزمرد والزبرجد واللؤلؤ والمرجان والدر وما دون ذلك إلى العقيق والشيح. So you have all these precious things, and then after that you have also something of less value, العقيق والشيح. So things that are precious, but not as precious as gold and diamond and all of that. ثم بعد ذلك زلف وحجارة لا قيمة لها. And also on the island there are stones and pebbles, and things that are of almost no value. وفيها أنهار وبساتين, and there's also rivers and gardens, fruits and all of that in the island. He says also in this island there's also a sanctuary of the king. The king happens to have a sanctuary in that island for himself. He doesn't live there, but he visits this island every now and then. وفي الجزيرة حمى الملك قد حد له حدودا. He made boundaries for himself for people not to transgress against that. وأحاط عليه حائطا, and he made a wall against his boundary. فيه خزائن الملك, all the treasures of the king, all the slave boys, the slave girls, the servants, the entourage, all his kingdom is within those walls, as you see from the people of this dunya. He says, so فنزل أهل السفينة في الجزيرة. So those people came down from the ship into this island. وقيل لهم, they were told, إن مقامكم بها يوم وليلة. The maximum we will stay in this island is 24 hours. That's it. 24 hours. Short amount of time. He says, فاغتنموا مدتكم القصيرة فيما أمكنكم من أخذ هذه الجواهر الكثيرة. He says, so make use of your time and get the most precious of stones, the most precious of diamonds, for you to take with you when the time lapses, when the 24 hours finish. He says now, فأما الحازمون, there was a category of people who were decisive, who were serious, who took matters very seriously. الحازمون, the smart, the intelligent ones, the wise people. أسرعوا إلى تلك الجواهر يتنقون منها ويحملونه إلى مخازنهم في السفينة ويجدون ويجتهدون. So there are people, those people who were smart, they went picking up the most precious ones, and taking them to load them on the ship to where their compartments or their storage areas. And they were working very hard, never rested. How could you rest when the time is only what? 24 hours. فإذا تعبوا, when they get tired, what do they say? How do they deal with tiredness? He says, فإذا تعبوا تذكروا قدر تلك الجواهر التي يحصلونها. When they get tired, they remind themselves of how precious these diamonds are, وكثرة قيمتها, and the value of them, وقلة مقامهم في تلك الجزيرة, and how short is their stay in that island. وأنهم عن قليل راحلون منها لا يقدرون على الازدياد, and soon they will be leaving, and once they have left, they can't take any more. فرفضوا الراحة. So they decided they're not going to rest at all. This is what we do sometimes. If you have an opportunity for season or whatever, that they tell you, if you work in this season, you will get paid £1,000 per hour. Will you be content to work 2 hours? Or do you want to work 8 hours? Or will you say that I will work the full 24 hours? Something we can relate to. If the compensation is high, then you will feel that I can't afford to take any rest. And we can see these kuffar, they do this for something much less than this. We do it ourselves. For something very much less, we take no rest. You see our brothers doing minikab. Sometimes they do 12 hours, 14 hours, to take what, £10 an hour, £12 an hour. So these people, when they realize how valuable, how precious these diamonds are, how short the time is, they decide there is no time to rest. فرفضوا الراحة وتركوا الداعي. They shook themselves out of laziness وأقبلوا على الجد والاجتهاد. So they worked very hard, they're striving non-stop. So this is the state that we should all be in. When you say, I'm tired and I'm this and that, you're only tired because you don't realize what it means to pray 2 rak'ah. You don't realize what it means to pray 2 rak'ah. If you realize the value of 2 rak'ah, he will never say you're tired. A man, one of the Salaf, he says, he prayed 2 rak'ah and he was not satisfied with it, the quality of it. And then he said, out of his sadness, he did not feel like he wanted to add more. He felt that he's not in the right mindset to add more rak'at. So he said that he's going to take a nap. He took a nap and he happened to be next to a graveyard. He said, I saw in a dream some of the people of that graveyard. he says, the person, and he's saying to them, you make me angry. I'm upset at you. You are dissatisfied with these 2 rak'ah? You are dissatisfied with 2 rak'ah? By Allah, I wish I can do a fraction of those 2 rak'ah. You are sad because you managed to do 2 rak'ah, and as a result, you left it, sah? He says, your problem is that you do أنكم تعملون ولا تعلمون. ونحن نعلم ولا نعمل. He says, your problem is that you do, or you can do, but you don't know the price of what you do. And us, we know the price of what we could possibly do. طيب? But we can't do any of that. أنتم تعملون ولا تعلمون. You don't realize the value of what you're doing. ونحن نعلم, we know the value of that, but we can't do anything about it. So our problem, you know, when you said I'm tired, you know, I'll be too fatigued if I fast. I'll be too tired the next day if I do qiyamul layl. It's because we don't understand what it means to do some rak'at qiyamul layl. We don't understand the value of fasting. That's why we say, oh, I can't do it because of blah, 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 whatever that may be. So these are the people who realize the value of these diamonds, the shortness of the time, and because of that, they refuse to rest at all. قال وإن عرض لهم النوم تذكروا ذلك فذهب عنهم لذة النوم والكرى. Whenever they feel a little bit of sleepiness, they remind themselves of the shortness of time and the value of whatever they are doing. And as a result, they become awake again. The tiredness goes. That's the group number 1. He says, وَأَمَّا آخَرُونَ, another group, he says, فَأَخَذُوا مِنَ الْجَوَاهِرِ شَيْئًا وَاسْتَرَاحُوا فِي أَوْقَاتِ الرَّاحَةِ وَنَامُوا وَقْتَ النَّوْمِ. There's another group of people that took whatever they can take, and then they slept whenever they needed to sleep, and they rested whenever they needed to rest. طيب. Group number 3. وأما فرقة أخرى فلم يتعرضوا للجواهر أصلا. There will be other type of group who never touched any of these diamonds. طيب. وآثروا النوم والراحة والتفرج. They just wanted to rest. They were too lazy. طيب. And they were satisfied to just observe and look at the island and the beauty of it. قال ومنهم قوم أقبلوا على بناء المساكن والقصور والدور. Some foolish people, even though they are staying there for 24 hours, they decide to build houses and palaces and buy cars and, you know, establish themselves in the land, you know. ومنهم قوم أقبلوا على بناء المساكن والقصور والدور. They bought houses, they bought palaces, they have aspirations in 24 hours. وقوم أقبلوا على جمع الزلف والصدف والحجارة والشقف. And some others, they were foolish. They were not smart to choose what to invest their short time in. So they end up picking up anything. They did anything. So they came out of this island with the cheapest of all stones. وقوم أقبلوا على اللعب والترهات. And some people, they had the mind to play and have games and enjoy themselves and have fun. قوم أقبلوا على اللعب والترهات وتشاغلوا باللذات. They were too busy looking at the beauty of the island, the fruits, the river, and they sat down telling stories, chit-chatting, you know, وسماع الحكايات المطربات. وقالوا ذرة منقودة خير من ذرة موعودة. He says, يعني a small grain of tangible reward is better for us than a reward that is promised. So we might as well just take whatever we have here. قال والفرقة الثالثة عدلوا, and you have another group of people, they actually decided to break into the sanctuary of the king. 24 hours. And they left all these beautiful things to pick up from, and they dared to break into the sanctuary of the king. عدلوا إلى حمى الملك وطافوا به. And they entered into it. فلم يجدوا له بابا. So they couldn't find a door. So what they did, ففتحوا لهم فيه ثلما واقتحموه. So they broke into the wall, they broke the boundary, and then they opened all the treasures. ففتحوا الخزائن وكسروا أبوابها. They broke into the chambers of treasures. وانتهبوا منها. They took everything they can, and they molested the slave boys and the slave girls that belonged to the king. They broke his honor. وقالوا ليس لنا دار غير هذه الدار. This is the only house we have. This is the only place we have. So we're gonna live in the sanctuary of the king. This is the example of people who decide to break Allah's rules. Allah gave them a lot of things to do. They have a purpose to live in this dunya, but they couldn't keep themselves from breaking Allah's rules in this very short amount of time. وقاموا على ذلك حتى ذهبت مدة المقام وضربت كؤوس الرحيل ونودي بالتحويل بالحث والتعجيل. So they stayed in this state until it was time to leave the island. All these groups of people, they were told time is up. You have to go. فأما الذين حصلوا الجواهر, as for the people who picked up the most precious of stones and pearls, فرحلوا مغتبطين ببضائعهم. They left overjoyed with their decisions, and they were happy. They knew that they invested their time and their energy on the right thing. لا يأسون على المقام إلا لازدياد مما كانوا فيه. They are not sad about the petty pleasures and the petty desires that other people fulfilled from the island. The only thing they feel sorry of is not picking up more of what they already picked up. طيب. وأما الفرقة الثانية, as for the second group, when they were told that they have to leave, اشتد جزعهم لعدم استبضاعهم وكثرة تفريطهم. They were very saddened. They were very scared in the moment of departure. طيب. Because they did not pick up anything, and they had very provisioning. وقلة زادهم وتركهم ما عمروه وارتحالهم إلى ما خربوه. So they were sad to leave whatever they built in the island, and now that they have to leave to something that they have not built anything for. Okay. وأما الفرقة الثالثة, as for the third group, the group who broke into the boundary, the sanctuary of the king, فكانوا أشد جزعا. They were more scared. Because once they come back, the king, they will have to meet the king, and they will have to speak to the king. كانوا أشد جزعا وأعظم مصيبة وقيل لهم لا ندعكم حتى نحملكم ما أخرجتم من خزائن الملك على أعناقكم. And they were told that we will not let you leave until you carry on your back everything that you stole, and you have it around your neck to meet the king with it. وعلى ظهوركم فارتحلوا على هذه الصفة. So everybody departed from the island in this. Some people have their gold and diamonds. Some people have their petty deeds and the petty things. They picked up the stones and the pebbles. Right? And some people are carrying with them whatever they stole from the sanctuary of the king. فنودي في المدينة فارتحلوا على هذه الصفة حتى وردوا مدينة الملك العظمى. So they went back to the greatest town of the king. طيب. فنودي في المدينة. Can you imagine how much reflection was put into this? And to show you how much time they're putting into thinking. He says, فنودي في المدينة. So when they got into the city, the biggest town of the king, فنودي في المدينة أنه قد قدم قوم كانوا في معادن الجواهر. It was announced that there are people who have arrived to the city who were in that island, the island of treasures. فتلقاهم أهل المدينة. So the people of that town received them. وتلقاهم الملك وجنوده. And the king and his soldiers received them. فاستنزلوهم وقيل لهم اعرضوا بضائعكم على الملك. So they were told, now that you have come back from that city, from that island, show the king what you have. Perhaps the king will buy it off you. Show the king what you have. Perhaps the king will be interested in buying what you have. And when the king buys from you, you're going to become satisfied. You'll become rich. Right? So every group now have to show the king what they have in their hands. So we have three groups. Group who took the diamonds and the gold and all of that. Group that took the stones and the pebbles. And the group that has on their back the belongings of the king from his sanctuary. He says, فأما أهل الجواهر فعرضت بضائعهم. As for the people who came with diamonds and gold and the precious things, they presented their goods to the king. فحمدهم الملك. So the king was satisfied with what he saw. وقال أنتم خاصتي وأهل مجالستي ومحبتي. You are going to be the people that I'm going to draw closer to me, and I will bring you closer and more honorable, and I will give you my love and my honor. ولكم ما شئتم من كرامتي, and you can have whatever you want. وجعلهم ملوكا, and he made them kings. He made them kings. لهم ما شاءوا, whatever they want they have. وإن سألوا أعطوا, if they ask they are gifted. وإن شفعوا, if they were to intercede, Allah will accept their intercession. وإن أرادوا شيئا كان, whatever they want it becomes as they wish. فقيل لهم خذوا ما شئتم واحتكموا ما أردتم. Allah told them, whatever you will, whatever you see, you desire, take it, it's yours. Yeah, just imagine the state. فأخذوا القصور والدور والحور والبساتين والقرى والرساتيق وركبوا المراكب. So they took everything, the houses, the palaces, the servants, the maids, the beautiful girls. They took everything they can, because the king told them, anything you see is yours. They took the marakib, the horses, whatever they can see that they have interest in, the servants, the soldiers. وصاروا ملوكا ينزلون في جوار الملك ويجلسونه وينظرون إليه ويزورونه ويشفعون إليه, and they became like the closest to the king, and they can intercede to whomever they want to intercede to. الفرقة الثانية, now the second group. The second group who came back with stones and pebbles. Allah told them, أين بضاعتكم? What is your merchandise? What do you have to show the king? فقالوا في الحقيقة ما لنا بضاعة. They said, Ya Allah, we don't have anything to offer. We can't even offer you what we came with. قيل ويحكم, woe unto you. أما كنتم في معادي الجوهر? Were you not in that island? My understanding, you were in that island. They said, yes. You were in dunya. This is the island. You were able to bring the most precious of things. أما كنتم أنتم وهؤلاء الذين صاروا ملوكا في موضع واحد? Weren't you in the same place, you and those who became kings? You were in the same place. How is it that they came with a lot and you came with nothing? قالوا بلى. They said, Ya Allah, yes, we were in the same place. But ولكننا آثرنا الدعة والنوم. But we preferred to rest and sleep and play. That's how we wasted our times in this dunya. We were in the same place. They worked and we were too busy to do other things. وقال بعضهم, some of them, they said, يا ربنا اشتغلنا ببناء الدور والمساكن. We were busy building houses and palaces and projects and businesses, etc. وقال آخرون اشتغلنا بجمع الزلف والشقف. We were too busy collecting the petty things, cheap things. فقيل لهم تبا لكم. It was said to them, woe unto you. أما علمتم قلة مقامكم? Did you have no idea that you're going to stay only for 24 hours? ونفاسة الجواهر, did you not know the value of those precious pearls and diamonds that were in the city التي عندكم؟ أما علمتم أن تلك ليست بدار مقام ولا محل منام? Did you not know that this is a place that you cannot sleep in, you cannot rest in, you should not be resting or sleeping or playing in it? Did you not know that? He says, أما أيقظكم الأيقاظ? Did you not wake up by the sight of those who are awake and doing work? Did that sight not wake you up? أما وعظكم الوعاظ? Were you not admonished by the admonishers, by the advisors? Were you not given advice? قالوا بلى والله. He said, yeah, we did see that, in fact, Ya Allah. قد علمنا فتجاهلنا. We knew, but we made ourselves forget. We unlearned the information that would have made us work. وأوقظنا فتناومنا. We were awakened, but we put ourselves to sleep again. وسمعنا فتصاممنا. And we heard, but we acted deaf. We lived like deaf people. قالوا فقيل لهم تبا لكم آخر الدهر. Woe unto you for the rest of time. فعضوا أيديهم ندما. They started to bite their hands out of regret and remorse. وبكوا على التفريط بعد الدموع دما. وبقوا آسفين متحيرين. ووقفوا منتظرين أن يتصدق عليهم بعض الذين صاروا ملوكا بشفاعة أو يتكلموا عنه. So they started to regret, and they were hopeful that some of those who became kings next to the king of all kings, they would intercede for them. شفاعة, to give them the شفاعة with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, الفرقة الثالثة, the third group. جاءوا يحملون أوزارهم على ظهورهم. They came, as Allah says in the Quran, يحملون أوزارهم على ظهورهم. They carry their burdens on their backs. Evidence يائسين مبلسين. You know, imagine meeting the king with some of his property on your back. يائسين مبلسين حيارى, very confused. سكارى, almost intoxicated, lost their mind out of the terror of that day. قد زلت بهم القدم, their feet slipped up. وحل بهم الندم ونزل بهم الألم, their regret and pain filled their hearts. وافتضحوا عند الأمم, and they were exposed in front of all. فأبعدهم الملك عن داره, so the king kicked them out of his house, and he distanced them, and he commanded that they will be imprisoned. وأمر بهم إلى السجن فجروا, so they were pulled and chained. قد أيقنوا العذاب وجل أمرهم عند العتاب. They knew that they are going to have a severe time. They're going to have a very tormenting time, and they will be reprimanded. And they were told, فَإِنْ يَصْبِرُوا فَالنَّارُ مَثْوًى لَهُمْ. Whether they are patient or not, their abode is the fire of hell. وَإِنْ يَسْتَعْتِبُوا فَمَا هُمْ مِنَ الْمُعْتَبِينَ. And if they were to ask for an opportunity to go back and do some work again, they will not be given that opportunity. إِنْ يَسْتَعْتِبُوا فَمَا هُمْ مِنَ الْمُعْتَبِينَ. So he says, in conclusion, فَانْظُرْ رَحِمَكَ اللَّهُ. So check and ask yourself, may Allah have mercy upon you. إلى تفاوت ما بين المنزلتين وما حصل من الفرق بين الفريقين. Now ask and reflect of who of these three categories you want to become. The people who understood the shortness of time and the preciousness of what they could possibly get out of this dunya, or you want to be one of the two other groups of people. طيب. He says الصبر في تلك المدة التي يقام فيها الكذب. فهذا تقريب. He said this is an example that I want you to keep in your mind and never lose, because the sight of other people, other foolish people having fun, playing, getting busy with dunya matters, that will bring you back to the state of heedlessness again. So bring this. فهذا تقريب مثال الدنيا ومن عمل فيها بالطاعة ومن استوعبها بالتفريط والإضاعة. فاجتهد رحمك الله. Work hard to be of the first category of people. في الكون من الفرقة الأولى الذين استوعبوا الساعات بالطاعة. Those who filled every second of their day with action, with righteous deeds. ولم يفرطوا في شيء من الأوقات. And they do not waste any second of their time. He mentioned a lot, but this is the example I think time would allow. Like I said, the book is 78 pages. But a very precious book, inshallah. Maybe one time we can go through it. But there you go. Yes.
In the first group, so discussing felt like in the first group there are different categories, and the second group there are different categories. So in the first group, we mentioned the category of those who are working non-tirelessly, but even if they come tired,
they remind themselves.
Well, in that same group, we have some people who what?
Huh?
So we have some people who what? Right? Who strive, who fix, pressures. Who what? Right?
Yes.
But when they got tired, they rested.
No, that's not the first group. The first group, every time they wanted to rest, they remind themselves of the value of what they will be missing out on and the shortness of time, and that will remove tiredness of them. So the first group, they were mindful of these two facts: how precious every righteous deed, how precious it is, and also they were mindful of the shortness of time, and that kept on removing laziness and tiredness of them. That's the first group.
Maybe because maybe I misunderstood, but from my understanding, we have three main categories.
Yes,
of people.
three main categories.
The first two were able to offer something to Allah.
The people who made use of every second of their stay in that island. Yeah.
The second who weren't able to offer anything.
Yeah.
And others who picked up pebbles or built something in the island and things like that. So they were not able to offer anything. Yeah.
So this category of people, they did not do like the first people, but they did not do like the third category of people.
Which is
transgressing towards the thing. So they played, they had fun, and if they did some righteous deeds, some of them they did righteous deeds, but something small, they came back with something of low quality, you know. That's the second category of people. The third are the people who transgressed.
I suppose my question, where I was going with the question, wherever the find is so from the people who what, right? Who then at the time where they are tired, they rested. At the time when they said they needed to rest, they rested. Or they wanted to rest, they rested.
They woke themselves up. Yeah.
No, not the ones that woke themselves up. Those ones who rested.
Second category. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But then, the second category.
That's the second category.
Well, the point is between those who walked and refused to rest, and those who walked and maybe rested in between where they needed to rest. The point, my question is, what is that? I know it's because practically we'll look at it from a practical point of view, and we won't say the body needs rest or something. But then again, from what we've been discussing, we know it's a question of the mindset.
Yes, it's the mindset. Yes.
But suppose, can you elaborate on that?
No, basically, let's take as an example. Imagine somebody who knows that they have a flight to catch at 5 a.m. and they are exhausted and tired, and they know that they have to be at the airport for 2 o'clock. Right? Imagine if they sleep at 11. What sort of sleep will they sleep? Huh? They will not be. They will be tossing and turning. They can't sleep. They can get to a point where, you know what, this is not working. They get up and they take wudu and they have a shower and they say, I might as well just do something with my time. You know, recently I had something like this, where similar circumstance where I went to bed and I knew that my mind isn't going to sleep, so I thought, let me just get up and do something. So your mind can be in a certain mindset where even if you wanted to sleep, you can't sleep. So people will try, because your body needs to sleep. You will feel that I have to answer the call of nature. Nature is what I need to eat, I need to drink, you know. But when it comes to sleep, they go to bed. If they sleep, they will sleep like a bird. Sleep a couple of hours and they can't sleep anymore. It's a mindset. You tell them eat, they can't eat. They're too busy. Have you all been busy mentally that you lost appetite for this dunya? Any food, you know, you will not want to eat, you know. It's a mindset. So Allah is speaking about now. What we're describing here is their mindset. You know, the fact that how could you eat, for example, how could you sit down? Let's go to that example, whereby you are asked to work in a factory or whatever setting in which you're going to be given £1 million per hour. Would you be able to take a lunch break? This is what they are doing. They say, I can't afford to take a lunch break where I could be praying 2 rak'ah. Who will be able to take a lunch break? The person who doesn't understand that they are getting paid £1 million per hour. So really, it's all about understanding 2 things: how precious everything you do for the akhirah now, how precious exactly it is. Right? Like I said to you, I used the word infinity earlier. And this is something you can only get your head with reflection. You can get your head to develop a mindset from it with reflection. Right? So understanding how precious everything of this deen is, every ibadah. Secondly is realizing how short your time is. Right? A lot of time we think, I have plenty of time. We don't have plenty of time, Allah. And that's what made a difference between group 1 and group 2.
In this, when you mentioned this bit of Tony and sister in the bed, most of what we treated sometimes like a kind of طريق إثنتين رحلة كانوا the book, where we discussed the activities of
المتقين.
the activities of them from nights.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, المتقين. There's a book of Ibn Qayyim spoke about in طريق الهجرتين. You know, when he describes a day of the people of taqwa. He actually said when they go to sleep, they can't sleep. They know that they have to sleep for them to function normally in the next day, and they go to sleep, but they can't sleep. No? This is what we need to work on. This is what will change our lives, my brothers. Understanding that this dunya is not to be wasted. You know, whatever you're pursuing that is wasting your time, and you know, like sometimes even this concept, I ask myself, I am 50 years old, you know, and I am sad, you know, and these concepts, it's not that I never knew them, but you know, when you develop a certain depth of understanding, you feel sad that only at 50 years old, you know, time is passing. Time is passing. You live your life depending on this understanding. Enhance this understanding, deepen it, and you see how it will change your life. You know? And if there's anything I can top up with this, is something that I already said, is who do you meet? Who do you speak? Who do you speak to? Who do you hang around with? They can either build on from this or destroy everything that you learn now. The people you speak to. The people even you see, let alone the people you speak to. Wallah, the people you see. If you see enough people playing, you get into the mindset of playing. Your mind will not be able to comprehend that all these people are right and I'm wrong. You know, seeing a lot of people playing and sleeping and having a chat and laughing, that's sickening to your heart. You know? Protect yourself from that. And the way to do that is remembrance of Allah. Remembrance of Allah. So you see them and you say, La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lahu, astaghfirullah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You know, see that you are witnessing something that is corrupting your heart. You know, run away from these sides as best as you can. Otherwise, you'll find yourself getting excited at 1 minute and then you don't know what happened. Something happened to you and then you lose everything you've gained. The momentum was only a spark and then you lost it. What is it? You met some people. You saw some people. You spoke to some people. And then they turned you into who they are. The Prophet says, يعني المرء على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. Everyone is on the same level of religiosity as their companions. So let every one of you check who do they take as companions. Who do you talk to? Who are your friends? What do they have interest in? If they are not good to you, your journey begins by cutting them off. Your journey to Allah begins by cutting them off. You know, and this is one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching to see, are you going to take that decision or not?
This element of weakness is something that corrupts the hearts. I'm guessing there's a difference between